All right. All right. What it do, y'all? What it do, y'all? I'm the host with the motherfucking most. Chill, motherfucking Murray. You're now tuning in live from the spot. Shout out to everybody tuning in and not tuning in. You know how we do and how we ride. All right. So, there's about 4 people in here. I didn't necessarily wait like I usually do. I usually give it like a good 10 minutes, but I'm not waiting tonight. I'm not waiting tonight. Episode 137. Don't put me in this. That's what everybody's starting to say, right? That's just starting to feel like it. Don't put me in this now. Zoe Ballin, what's going on? That's what's starting to feel like now. Everybody's saying, don't put me in this. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about that whole thing, right? Like, the people that was named in the defendants, the people that were named as defendants, kamikaze, what's going on? I started saying to myself, like, all of a sudden you guys don't know anything? Like, all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, I wasn't there. I'm like, wait, what? Princess Cherie, what's going on? Like, nobody knows anything now? All right, I get it. You guys all weren't there now. Now nobody was at the Diddy party. Now nobody knows Diddy. Right. Okay. Now nobody was at the party in 2018. Fine. Okay. So, I mean, we can start there, right? We can start there at least with Druski, right? Druski, prime example. Druski, prime fucking example. Is trying to say that he was not around Diddy in 2018. He was too broke to be around Diddy in 2018. Okay. Granted, I get that. We're gonna get into those facts in a second. How's everybody doing tonight? It's a Monday night. It's a Monday evening. I plotted Friday, so I know a lot of you wouldn't even expecting me to be on tonight. That's another thing. A lot of y'all probably wouldn't even expecting me to be on tonight. So, but I couldn't not say anything about what was going on with this because I'm like, okay, so that's a whole lot of hoopla. There's a whole lot of hoopla going on and a whole lot of back and forth of, oh, this doesn't make sense. And I think that's the main reasons I wanted to get on, because everybody kept saying that certain certain defendants don't make sense, which we're going to get into that entire lawsuit because there is some things that don't make sense. Like I said, I potted Friday, but I said fuck it. I come back. I spin the block for Monday, only because, like I said, over the weekend I kept hearing about so much shit. So I was like, what should I say? So much shit regarding this. So I was like, all right, fuck it. Let's see what's going on with it. And first of all, anybody that does talk about the hoodie, this is my at-home comfortable hoodie, okay? This is my at-home comfortable hoodie. I wear this at home a lot because I'm at home chilling a lot. Just live from the spot for a reason. It's called live from the spot for a reason. So, if anybody wants to get me a new hoodie, please feel free to send me a new hoodie. But right now, this is my at-home chilling hoodie. So, just wanted to put that out there. Also, you guys noticed that I haven't necessarily been on. Why do I have a friend's request on Duet and I haven't even fucking signed up for it? Anyway, I like I said, want to do something tonight just to get it out, just to at least get the right information out there, in case people are like really confused at some of like defendant names that are out there. But yeah, so I guess we can start there with Druski, right? We can start there with Druski, for example, right? That was the main reason I picked this picture here for the cover. For the simple fact that, yeah, you haven't been famous for very long, Druski. I get that. I get that part. The other thing is, how do you take a picture like this in 2020 if you weren't at some level of status quo prior to this picture? Okay? What I'm getting at is this picture was taken in 2020 for Drake's Laugh Now, Cry Later music video. Druski was in the video. Okay, so Druski, of course, was very well known by this time in 2020. This one's confusing because they just threw him away, but he also keeps being questioned on the pods he's going on. Why is Tom Segura pressing him about Diddy? Yeah, it's like, so here's the thing, right? Druski's been getting asked about Diddy for quite some time now. This isn't the first time that Druski's been asked about Diddy parties. That's another thing, right? Let's not forget that Druski has been to Diddy's house in 20. That's another thing, right? So 2020 was an interesting year for Druski. Druski was, let's just say, he had rose to a level of actually being famous in 2020. Now you say that by saying, okay, he started in 2017 with the comedy skits. 2018, 2019, he was definitely popping. Let's not forget that. He was definitely popping 2018, 2019. If he started in 2017. Could have been records literally started 2019. I believe 2018 going into 2019 at that. So you knew certain celebrities around between 2018 2019. So let's not just say, oh, you were completely broke at your mama's house in 2018. That's not true. That part is not true whatsoever. You wouldn't be doing I Instagram lives with, academics and Kai Sinat and not even, in fact, not even the streamers. You wouldn't be doing IG lives with certain rappers of certain status quo, what could have been records. Let's start there. We could even fast forward to late 2019, not even late 2019. We could fast forward to 2020. How do you get to being comfortable at Diddy's house? It's a real question. How do you get comfortable enough to make a video that says Druski is a little too comfortable at Diddy's house? Now remember, Druski's claim to fame video, if I'm not mistaken, was the Druski getting too comfortable at Diddy's house. That was his first real million view video. Not even gonna say that. Not even gonna say first million view video. I'm gonna say first real viral video that was of 4K quality. Let's say that. Let's say first real 4K quality video. But again, how do you even get around a Diddy in that time? You do it by hanging out with the kids. You do it simply by hanging out with the kids. Erviani, what's going on? As you can see here, Druski and Justin at the club chilling, right? But how many people knew about Justin and Druski hanging out prior to him doing that 2020 I'm comfortable in Diddy's crib video? Again, you ask yourself, how is it that this gentleman all of a sudden gets to even do a video in Diddy's crib? It's because he hung out with the kids. Everybody knows that Druski used to hang out, or should I say still does, but hang with Justin LaBoy, Justin Combs, and Christian. That was a very well-known posse from 2018 up until now. That was a very well-known crew of them four together. So again, we can't say that Druski was not famous enough to be at a Diddy party when he literally was friends with Justin and Justin LeBoy. There are many skits that Justin Combs shows up on with Druski before he goes to a Diddy house and shoots the video. There are many videos. So even when we're seeing this and him chilling, throwing up drinks with Justin Combs in the club, that's one of the biggest reminders to me that, oh, they knew each other. They've always known each other. So again, to know that Druski has done a video in Diddy's house, you have to ask yourself, how does he get a video in Diddy's house? Fantomos, what's going on? Are there videos with him with Justin in 2018? If you notice, there are pictures. There's pictures of them hanging together. There's pictures of them hanging together in 2018. But even let's go back to the 2020 video of Druski being comfortable at the house. Where is it? Where the hell is it? Why is my computer acting like I didn't just get this? My computer's trying to act real funny now. All right. Acting real funny, computer. That's fine.
Hold up, now. Nigga, is this the crib? Oh, shit.
Now remember, this is December 2020.
Ooh, I knew I was supposed to be living like this, man. I always knew.
Welcome, Mr. Druski.
It's a cold town, Mr. Druski. Mr. Druski Combs now. Hold on, boy. I ain't never been to nobody's house with a Buddha in it.
How did you get in here?
What up, man?
What's going on?
Just waiting on my food to get done.
Got your towel, your pillow, your whole setup?
Oh, yeah.
The first person that comes out is who? The first nigga that come out is who?
Thought you was getting in here with me, man.
I'm good, bro. Let's go inside.
The first nigga that introduces him is who?
Getting on the girls to come up in here. I know you got them.
Right here, we have a world-class piano that no one has ever
Showing him around the house.
touched before. Yes, it's a one of one.
Is this not evident that these two are actual friends prior to this video being shot?
Woo, y'all got some nice shit in here, man. Come on. Hey, bro, you gotta get me a picture under this shit. Hey, look at
Bro, chill, bro, chill, bro.
Hey.
Bro, you always act like this in people's crib?
Nigga, what I do? I thought
Bro, you're tripping.
Christian Combs.
Good.
Yo, you got the Wi-Fi?
I don't got the Wi-Fi. Wait 1 second real quick, bro.
All right. I'm about to go upstairs. Yo, this is stupid. Smell like puff in here. What y'all want to do? Which one I want to wear today? Woo! Can't do without the silk. For real, I don't even know how to put this on. Yeah.
More promotion of what liquor? The De Leon liquor that who was promoting at this time? Justin.
De Leon tequila. Owned by a black man. Don't mind if I do. I wouldn't. Shot.
Owned by a black man.
Owned by a black man.
So again, and let's also put this in perspective, right? This is before videos started being looked up of Diddy grooming certain comedians. Remember, I'm trying to remember the comedian name of the one that was told to avoid Diddy. There's a comedian that was told to avoid Diddy. I'm trying to remember his name now. Who was that black comedian that was told to avoid him? There's a comedian, Jeff Wittick, says he saw live sex at freak offs. I didn't even see that. Let's see. I forgot. Y'all remember the name of the comedian I'm talking about now? It's a young black comedian that was told to avoid Diddy. No, not Cat. Not Cat. Cat told people to avoid Diddy, but it was a young black comedian. He was sitting in a round table he was told to actually avoid Diddy. Don't go to Diddy parties. Not Lil Rel. And he was the comedian that was at the Super Bowl too. I'm trying to remember his name now. He was the young comedian that was at the Super Bowl, as a matter of fact. It was the same one that was in the red jacket at the Super Bowl talking to the white guy. I can't remember his name now, but that gentleman was actually at a round table and they kept telling him to avoid going to Diddy parties and how Diddy was grooming a lot of young black comedians, specifically. Desi Banks. Thank you, Vod. Thank you, Vod Mel. Desi Banks. That's who it was. Desi fucking Banks. Desi fucking Banks. Here, hold on. Here it goes right here. I'll play you out a clip right here. I will show you out a clip right here. What a man. What's going on? Desi fucking Banks.
What are some things that you feel like I should look out for? Coming into the game. Like, you've been in the game for a long time, man.
Somebody's out for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Stay away from that. Stay away from the take that mansion. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, stay away from that. All right. Second, they're laughing because they know it's true.
Yeah, I'm new, so I don't know.
Second, what I would tell you, and I mean,
You see what I'm saying? And another young black comedian. I forget this gentleman's name, but you guys know who this is. Round table, regular conversation, and dude's like, "Yeah, I don't shit." Waka told him, like, "Yo, stay away from the take that man house." You hear he had to say it like that? Stay away from the take that man house. This was 2023. This is 2 years ago. And that video went out. This is prior to the allegations. Just shortly prior to the Cassie allegations. Guys telling him, hey, stay away from the take that man house. So again, there was evidence of Diddy supposedly grooming these young black comedians and actors. There was the kid from Snowfall that was sitting at Diddy's house, and everybody was like, "Oh shit, what's about to happen with him?" What's his name? Damson Idris.
As an owner of Walton Goggins goggle glasses.
In Atlanta, right?
Black right here. You know what I mean? Hey, yo, you did your thing this season. And this kid, my nigga Man Boy, I had to pat him down before he came to my house. He was so believable. He's got a little bit of Man Boy in him, though. I can tell. Yeah. Rebounding.
So it's not like this is something that is new to Diddy having these gentlemen at his house. Oh, I was getting to that next spot. Medusa, what's going on? I was just getting to that next.
You ever been to one of Diddy parties?
Yeah, I've been in attendance. Not, hey, what the fuck you smirking for?
I ain't seen that.
I've been in attendance.
He just asking regular questions. You ever been to one of Diddy parties?
Yeah, I've been in attendance. Not, hey.
I've been in attendance. Hey, not, why are you getting so goddamn defensive already? And then look how he's even asking him. Look how Gilly's even asking him this question.
You ever been to one of Diddy parties?
Yeah, I've been in attendance. Not, hey, what the fuck you smirking for?
I ain't seen that.
I've been in attendance.
He just asking regular
That's all
questions.
I said. That's all I said. I said I've been in attendance. I have been in attendance.
We never been. We just asking.
We just asking.
Yeah. As soon as you asked, he said,
You had fun?
I ain't seen that.
"Yeah, you did."
I ain't seen that.
Yeah, I had fun. Yeah, I mean, it was a party. I wasn't at one of them parties.
Yeah, like why are you getting so defensive? Why you have such a defensive, guilty conscience about this?
What parties you talking about?
And then you can't even look them in the eye and say this. I want you to also understand body language. He can't look them in the eye while he's saying this.
I've been in attendance at a puff party. You know what I'm saying? I've been in attendance. Yeah, I went. Yeah,
Okay.
but I ain't. Yeah, nah. I don't know which party. The party I went to, it was girls turn up. You know what I'm saying? The regular. You know what I mean? Other celebrities and shit. Yeah,
That's when you know it lying when you say, I ain't been to one of them parties. Wait, what party?
Oh, that's crazy.
You ever been to one of Diddy parties?
Yeah, I've been in attendance. Not, hey, what the fuck you smirking for?
I ain't seen that.
I've been in attendance.
He just asking regular
That's all
questions.
I said. That's all I said. I said I've been in attendance. I have been in attendance.
We never been. We just asking.
We just asking.
As soon as you asked, he said,
You had fun?
I ain't seen that.
"Yeah, you did."
I ain't seen that.
Yeah, I had fun. Yeah, I mean, it was a party. I wasn't at one of them parties.
What parties you talking about?
I have been in attendance at a puff party. You know what I'm saying? I've been in attendance. Yeah, I went. Yeah,
Okay.
but I ain't. Yeah, nah. I don't know which party. The party I went to, it was girls turn up. You know what I'm saying? The regular. You know what I mean? Other celebrities and shit. Yeah,
That's when you know it lying when you say, I ain't been to one of them parties. Wait, what party?
Oh, that's crazy.
Very crazy. Very, very crazy. You know what's even more crazy about that? You know what's even more crazy about that? Watch this. Watch this. Someone else keeps turning up at these same exact things. This is the part that bothers me, right? Is that certain people just keep popping up in the same exact places. To the point where you start saying it's very weird. What am I getting at? So if you look at the picture here, right? Perfect example, right? This picture here. Who do you notice on the far right? Odell Beckham is on the far right. Why do the same people keep popping up in the same exact places? Or should I say hanging with the same exact people? Now, I would say 2 out of the 4 people on this bench have also attended all white parties and been there numerous times. Have been at Michael Rubin all white parties, have they not? I'm talking about the 2 niggas on the right. Now, the nigga on the far right has also had flings with Kim Kardashian. The nigga on the far right is not new to being at Diddy parties. At all. Is not new to being at a Diddy party at all. In fact, he also likes to, it appears, party with Justin Combs. This is at Justin Combs' private VIP party in Bel Air. Want to know what year this was? Ironically, 2021. Yes, lived in Drake's house. So why do all the same people keep popping up together? Like I said, Odell, you are not new to being at Diddy parties. In Diddy's house. Quite often. In fact, you have a very famous clip from a Diddy party, don't you? This only get nastier because of the song that's playing before what's about to happen. And as you can see, the name of this clip is "What is Justin Bieber doing to Odell Beckham at the Diddy party?" Moments later, nasty work. Just nasty work. Again, these 2 gentlemen are not new to being at Diddy parties. Not new at all. So when I hear these 2 dickros saying that this is preposterous and they'd never attended and they don't know what they're talking about, and I said, how could you not? Now, regardless of how ridiculous the lawsuit sounds, I will go on record saying that, regardless of how ridiculous the lawsuit sounds, I don't want to hear that you 2 have not been in attendance at Diddy parties. I don't want to hear that bullshit lie anymore. I don't want to hear you didn't know Diddy in 2018. I don't want to hear none of that. None of it. None of it. Because you knew Justin. Both of you niggas. Both of you niggas. I emphasize, both of you niggas knew Justin Combs in 2018. Stop it. Stop the bullshit lie. Now, that bring me to my next person. That all of a sudden is saying, I didn't see nothing. Well, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Sir, you went on a campaign of how much shit you saw. Huh? Huh?
So, Bill, no, let me ask you, seriously.
On a softer note.
On a softer note.
Big homie CC has been also now named as a defendant in this case. Now, I would also like to say that I don't think he did anything. That was the first part of, I think I should call bullshit on this lawsuit. But I don't think he did anything. But him going on record saying it's preposterous, he never had any association with Diddy, he never worked for Diddy, and never been to Diddy party, and sir, you went on a month, possibly months, long campaign advocating the shit that you seen at these parties. The cat can't get your tongue now.
No, so of course, Ray
I ain't trying to hear it.
took your place. He's making all kind of. He got his own news network. Didn't you see? Give me thoughts when you say like Bow Wow say that he is upset or he feels a way that there's no more Diddy parties. Like he's like almost like he's fiending for the Diddy parties. Like, man, it ain't going down like it was.
So let me ask y'all a question right now. If Bow Wow came into this room without anybody knowing anything he did, and a group of females came into this room, who gonna get the females first, y'all or him?
Definitely better.
This nigga, us.
If they don't know,
Yeah, he said they don't know who
they
Bow Wow
don't know
is.
who he is.
He's just Shad Moss from up the road.
Oh.
Yeah, nah, we getting
Who's
that
gonna
action.
get the females first?
Yeah, because Bow Wow did walk in this room, but he was Bow Wow. But no, Bow Wow is he have to like bat his eyes or something.
We don't bow ass.
Yeah, nah. No shade to Shad. No shade to Shad.
There's no shade.
No shade to Shad, but nigga.
Right. So if you can be a person who can show up you can show up to a place, and everybody here is paid to come in here and do what they do, of course you're gonna miss that.
Yeah, man.
You going to a party and everybody is sex workers?
No, so of course Ray J took your place. He's making all kind of. He got his own news network. Didn't you see? Give me thoughts when you say like Bow Wow say that he is upset or he feels a way that there's no more Diddy parties. Like he's like almost like he's fiending for the Diddy parties. Like, man, it ain't going down like it was.
So let me ask y'all a question right now. If Bow Wow came into this room without anybody knowing anything he did, and a group of females came into this room, who gonna get the females first, y'all or him?
Definitely better.
This nigga, us.
If they don't know,
Yeah, he said they don't know who
they
Bow
don't know
Wow
who
is.
he is.
He's just Shad Moss from up the road.
Oh.
Yeah, nah, we getting
Who's
that
gonna
action.
get the females first?
Yeah, because Bow Wow did walk in this room, but he was Bow Wow. But no, Bow Wow is he have to like bat his eyes or something.
We don't bow ass.
Yeah, nah. No shade to Shad. No shade to Shad.
There's no shade.
No shade to Shad, but nigga.
Right. So if you can be a person who can show up you can show up to a place, and everybody here is paid to come in here and do what they do, of course you're gonna miss that.
Yeah, man.
You going to a party and everybody is sex workers?
Wow, man.
You can pull anybody you want, male or female, to the bathroom and get a blowjob.
Yeah.
You're gonna miss that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Damn. All right. Well, it's a drought. Then it's a drought.
And that drought made people crash out. So,
It's a drought. What can you give me one celebrity you were surprised to see at a party in a way that you were surprised to see him, male or female? Like you might have had an idea about him, then you see him like there ain't no way that this person's doing this with that or doing this like that or whatever.
No.
Okay, yeah, he said, goddamn, I can't do that.
No. Like after my first like year of like being like working with like celebrities, I figured out what it was. I said, oh, so they all like this.
Alcohol.
Huh?
Does it always start with alcohol whenever?
No, a lot of them don't even drink.
Oh.
It's just them.
Just come in like,
bro,
I'm great.
So you got different levels but you got horny men and then you got real horny men. You feel me?
So, what's the craziest thing you see?
I saw the animals. Well, animals were wrong.
Like the craziest thing that she was like, oh, nah, bro, I ain't, nah, bro, it's
I walked in on a guy in like a mascot outfit with another person in a mascot like outfit, like dry humping in the floor.
That's some funny shit to walk into.
Yeah, when I first seen it, I just walked past. I'm like, what the fuck you got going on?
This is not someone that is new to this type of thing. Hi, Cavani, what's going on? What's going on? It's not somebody that's new to this, He's seen some things.
But here another thing though, like I bodyguarded this guy who was a pimp before, and he told me, he said, look, if a man have too much of one thing, he start trying other things. So as soon as I heard that, I went celibate for like 2 years. Cause I ain't even trying to have like, bro, I think a lot of things is evil, bro. And in the music industry, you see a lot of things that's evil. And they'll tell you crazy because you don't agree with it. I seen this. All of this stuff that's coming out, I've been saying it, bro. I've been saying it. That's why I started taking gigs and I'm bringing the guys with me because it's like, all right, I don't want to be the only straight guy in here. See what I'm saying? Then at the same time, if something happened, if you on a team with like 5 security dudes, they might be 7 feet tall, but they 5 feet tall in their heart. Well, a lot of them be soft, scary. They not gangster at all. Like, they gonna run and leave you and call the police. Like, they not gonna shoot no gun, bro. Name one time you heard about a security guard, a bodyguard shooting somebody.
Snoop Dogg's bodyguard.
That was 20 years ago. That's why you hear all the rappers saying, I don't need no bodyguard. You hear that in every song. That's why. That's why I charge what I charge. Because you get me and them coming out. And half the time, people know not to try us. So we don't really have to do nothing. But like, I've worked with people, dudes like that dude Kane Kong, he big, but he'll knock you out. But most dudes not doing that. They get knocked out or calling 12.
Back to the Diddy thing. What was your actual interactions with Diddy like?
So my interactions with him was this. He had an appearance at this club called The Vibe in Chicago on Kingsbury when it was open. I was head of security at this club. So after that club closed, after the night was over, he have an after party. So the manager of the club said, I need you to come with me to the after party. So me and my other homie, we go to the after party. When we get to the after party, bro, like, it was a lot of females in there who stand up when they use the bathroom. You see what I'm saying? So I'm thinking to myself, like, man.
Now, hold just a minute. I'm only stopping it because this gentleman has also said on record, hey, the only time I've had any interaction with Diddy was when I even hosted, was when I did security at an E40 party. And he was performing. That was the only time. But now you're going into a full-on story of where you were at an actual party.
Man, like this kind of wild on bro. Like this how y'all coming. If this how y'all live, it's how y'all live. But they want to keep it a secret. You see what I'm saying? So he real touchy feely too. Like he grabbed this other guy I know by his neck. Grabbed him by his neck and was like, "Do you have love in your heart, young man? You want to be a roach or you want to walk with God?" I'm looking like, you gonna let him grab you like that? But then, you know, he be on some tough guy shit too. So I guess he a tough cake toucher.
Did you see him do anything with anybody or anything? Or
no, I seen him holding hands with two men.
Damn.
Like this. I seen that. So, you know, like they'll have a dude come out.
You've never seen anything or saw anything, but yet the caption of this video is you saw Diddy holding hands with two men. But yet you never saw anything.
With the paper, signing NDA. No, I'm going to the car, bro. I'm good. I'm not signing no NDA. I'm going to the car. I'm good. Seen that, bro. So seeing all this come in the news, people was telling me I was crazy. Said I was a hater. Hating on what? I don't want to party with the girls with the third leg, man. I'm good. I'll just be with the guys chilling. I don't got to be in here with y'all. But if you're getting $1,500 for the night, you're going to try to find a gray area to operate in. You feel me?
If you're getting $1,500 for the night, you're going to find a gray area to operate in. So, with that being said, is it fictional or fact that a big homie CC could very well end up at a Diddy party and possibly be, being security for it in some type of way?
I seen these things.
what do you think about them accusing Diddy of having cameras in his house so he can record celebrities and politicians and use it as blackmail?
So I firmly believe that's true because in that sector of people, a lot of them practice Scientology. And Scientology, that was their thing. They would get people in compromising positions. They'll hold that footage over their head and get them to agree to things. You see what I'm saying? So like, you know what, if you see somebody with the chain on, with that little vial of blood on their neck, well, they a Scientologist, bro. So it's definitely gonna be footage of them somewhere doing something compromising. That's how a lot of these agreements get made. People get endorsed. How they get that deal out of nowhere? Because, like, I think he one of them Scientology people, bro. Because that's probably where he got that from. And being somebody who people call when things get crazy, like, some of the most powerful people I bodyguarded for like to get tied up. You feel me? They got videos of them getting tied up, somebody spanking them with a whip.
You see what I'm saying? Like, big homie CC, how do you not know about any of this stuff and you never been around with it? And then you say the biggest thing that most viewers are not paying attention to. How do you know about Scientology, big homie? See, I know about it because I've covered it on this channel. Nobody else has the balls to cover it the way I have, but I have covered it. How do you know about Scientology and that the higher ups and the elites of, let's just say, for example, LA are into Scientology? Unless you yourself have been around certain things within your vision. Not to say you have done anything, but to say that you have not been around these things is a bit odd now, considering you have said such already. I'm just saying. Now, we don't have to get into some of the other people that are named as defendants in this, right? A la Jaguar Wright. Do we really have to go down the pipeline of Jaguar Wright? Now, I don't necessarily know why she's a defendant on this, other than there's times where she literally has said that she has participated in being a mistress for the elite. She has literally said that out of her own mouth, that she has been a mistress for the elite at some point. So I don't have to go down the pipeline with her. Hell, she said it herself. She has not only been a victim, but a person that has participated in being in the sex parties. She said it herself. There's no defamation there. There's real footage of her saying it herself in many fucking interviews. Hell, you heard her say to Orlando Brown, "I'm sorry I sacrificed your brother." So we shouldn't even put it past Jaguar. That wasn't no joke of Orlando asking why y'all did that to my brother, and Jaguar had to whisper this shit off. We don't have to go down that. So, without further ado, before we get into this court case, let us look at Ashley Parham's interview from the news.
I read a lot of those details right here on the air the night that lawsuit was filed. But tonight, Ashley Parham is here to fill in some blanks. As a recap, she says the gang rape happened at the home of a mutual acquaintance in the Bay Area back in 2018. She says that Sean Combs singled her out because she publicly disrespected him in a FaceTime call and accused him of orchestrating the murder of Tupac Shakur. She says that Combs and 3 other men raped her, the other men acting on Diddy's orders. She also claims that members of Combs' entourage stood by, even helped out in the assault. Afterward, she said nothing had happened. And even though she was drugged, she says it soon wore off and that scuffles eventually broke out, during which shots were actually fired. She even claims that she slashed at Diddy with a knife. A neighbor heard the ruckus and called the police, but Parham says the officers who showed up from the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department didn't offer to help her. She says she didn't believe they ever even investigated. The department, however, says this, and I quote, "A report was taken on March 23rd, 2018. We take these cases and accusations seriously, and detectives thoroughly investigated the accusations. It was later determined the claims were unfounded." Which brings me to tonight. Months after putting her name on a highly explicit, exhaustively detailed court filing, Ashley Parham has decided to go on national television and answer questions about it. She asked us if we could conceal.
See, right there, you also have to keep in mind of that key factor, right? There was an actual police report that was filed on this date. That's a little bit different. Let's just say that's very different from the Jay-Z and Diddy accusation from the other lady. There was an actual police report that was found about this very incident.
Her face, and we agreed. She also wanted to be joined. Here's our conversation. Ashley and Ariel, thank you very much for doing this. I know this is extremely sensitive. I'll ask the questions best I can, and I'll challenge the best I can, understanding that this is delicate information. With that in mind, Ashley, can you tell me how you first even came into contact and came to know Sean Combs?
I met a man named Shane Pierce at the bar, and outside of the bar, he had Sean Combs on a FaceTime phone call, and he overheard me saying I wasn't impressed by him and wasn't a fan, and that I thought he killed Tupac. And
Do you believe that that's what started all of this, that perhaps Sean Combs had a grudge, just hearing that you believed he was Tupac's killer?
Yeah, I think that's what started it, because that's when he threatened me, that he was going to come after me. And he threatened he was going to eat my face, so I didn't take him seriously. I just thought he was a bizarre human being.
At what point did you come into actual physical contact? Did you see him face to face for the first time? What were the circumstances?
It was when Shane Pierce had called me, and he claimed he wasn't feeling well from his cancer treatment and he needed help opening his medication. So
Real quick, I also want to put a note on one thing here, right? So we're not emphasizing this as well, because I like to look at things in a certain detail with a third eye, right? What's the one thing in common with this case? I know you guys are going to say Tupac, right? The main thing with that is, why is it that Ariel Mitchell, the attorney that's taking this case, is also the same attorney for Courtney Burgess, who is supposedly an affiliate of Tupac? Why is it Ariel Mitchell keeps coming up around Tupac being a common denominator in this Diddy case? I just thought it was a little bit of a coincidence that she keeps coming up in the cases that specifically have to do with Tupac.
went over there to help him out, and it turned out he was just fine and he didn't need my help. It was weird. He wanted to show me his new car, and he took me on a short drive around the Renda Hills, and then we got back to his little bachelor pad in the house, and he offered me a glass of water, and I drank it, and I started to feel a little bit off. And then I heard a bunch of people coming down the stairs, and it was Sean Combs and a whole bunch of people who just busted in the door and just in a boisterous manner and acting. He said something like, "Bet you didn't think you were ever going to see me." And I was just in complete shock and frozen.
And what happened next?
He basically started threatening me with human trafficking, and that they could take me anywhere and sell me. He had Christina Parham. He ordered her to insert a copper IUD into my vagina, but luckily it deployed before she could actually get it inside me, like inside the cervix. And
now, hold on just a second. We've gone from you taking a joy ride, being okay with being there, getting a glass of water, feeling off, to now he's the most evil man that you've ever seen in your life. Is it just me or this story kind of went all over the place a little bit?
That's when Sean Combs got extremely angry and he grabbed the TV remote and sexually assaulted me vaginally with the remote extremely violently.
Where in the apartment did this happen?
And it was in the house. It has a little studio apartment underneath the house, and it was on the bed because it was a really tiny apartment.
And was everyone in that party present? The people who had all descended down those stairs into that studio apartment, were they all present witnessing what was happening to you?
I heard more people upstairs that I didn't see. So I'm not incredibly sure how many people were there. In the room with me, it was Sean Combs, Shane Pierce, Shane's friend, who I don't know his name yet, what he called was a bodyguard, who later claimed he was a correctional officer or undercover officer, but he wasn't. And then Christina Parham and another white woman who I don't know her name.
Did you know who these people were, or have you come to learn who they are because of the alleged assault that happened?
I learned who they were afterwards, other than Sean Combs.
And so now, if you can, and I'm sorry these questions are so difficult. I'm following along with the affidavit for the most part. Can you tell me what happened after you say Sean Combs allegedly raped you with the TV remote? What happened after that in that bedroom with all of those people present?
They took turns raping me, and Sean Combs raped me anally. Shane Pierce also raped me, but vaginally. And the bodyguard guy, he raped me as well while Sean Combs was sitting in a chair naked, filming it and jerking off to watching me being raped.
Sean Combs was masturbating while you say the other members of his party were taking turns with you?
Yeah.
And what happened next?
And I looked for my stuff, my shoes, my clothes, my purse, my keys, and my phone, and none of it was there. And I found a random large black t-shirt. So I put that on, and the knife that Sean Combs had put against my face earlier, where he wanted to cut my face, and Christina Korm told him that it wouldn't be good for human trafficking me, that clients wouldn't like it. I found that knife because they had left it in there. So I tried to hide it on my left side underneath partially of the t-shirt. And I stepped outside, and that's right where the bodyguard with a gun was, and they told me to sit down. So I sat down on this makeshift bench out of buckets and a plywood, and I just had to sit there and just kind of listen to Sean Combs brag about what he did to me, and that he's gotten away with more serious crimes and no one would believe me. And he mentioned Tupac and...
To be clear, this is outside now. This is in the backyard. You have now moved out towards the backyard where they are all sitting outside?
Yeah, they were all in the backyard, sitting outside, just having fun with each other, like, and they were smoking and drinking, like it was just a normal day for them.
So what happened after that?
I was sitting there on the bench and I wasn't allowed to leave. At one point, Sean Combs threw a fanny pack at me that was full of drugs, and I got angry and I threw the fanny pack into the bush, and that's when the bodyguard told me that I had messed up and to go get it, and Sean quickly said, no, she needs to stay there. Someone else go get it. So I couldn't get up from the seat. He was just trying to brag about all his celebrity friends. And I just didn't want to listen to him. I just was sitting there until I could try to run. But there were so many people, like, around the house and up above near the actual house's backyard where there's a patio where Christina Parham and a bunch of people were just hanging out and smoking and chatting and having fun. Sean Combs turns to me and he says, why haven't we ever partied like this before? And that's when I got enraged and I said, this is not a party, you raped me. And he attempted to bribe me with some amount of money, and I said, no, you raped me. I'm not gonna stay silent on this. And then he ended up calling his mother, Janice Combs, and she got on the phone, a FaceTime video, and she yelled at me not to hurt her son. And I yelled back, he raped me. And she told me to take the money and shut up.
At some point, someone in the backyard brought out a weapon and fired it. What were the circumstances surrounding that?
That's when Sean Combs had bragged about getting away with way worse than what he had done to me, and he admitted to killing Tupac or having him killed. And that's when the bodyguard turned the gun around on Sean Combs, and I ran behind the bodyguard because I was just looking for any type of person who might help me. I tried to get the gun, but he wouldn't let me, and it went off in Sean Combs' direction into the hill. Luckily, it didn't go into anybody's house.
And I just want to go back to that one detail. Sean Combs said to you that he killed Tupac or that he had Tupac killed? Which one was it?
He paid to have Tupac killed.
That's what he said in that moment in the backyard, that he had paid to have Tupac killed.
Yes, and he...
Notice how that's randomly emphasized in this case. Again, side by side with the lawyer, Ariel Mitchell, who is also representing Courtney Burgess, which Courtney Burgess says he is a known affiliate of Tupac, who has supposed footage in Kim Porter's diary in which emphasizes Diddy killed Tupac. Why does this keep coming up?
He was bragging about it.
So now a gunshot has gone off in Sean Combs' direction. What happened after? You're now standing behind the bodyguard, one of the men who was in the room and allegedly assaulted you with the others. What's the next series of events?
That's when I kind of lost my mind, and I had the knife and I ran at Sean Combs, and he started to run up the stairs towards where Christina Corm and all the people were sitting up on the little patio. And I hit him in the back with my left hand, and he fell down on the stairs. He was lying down on the stairs, and he turned back and looked at me. And I had the knife in both of my hands, and I was going to plunge the knife into him because it was a kill or be killed situation. And his face looked so scared that he was looking at me like I was the monster when he's the monster, and my moral compass snapped back in. And I decided that this is insane. I can't do this. I don't have it in me to do that. And I turned around and I took 2 steps down the stairs. Sean Combs got back up and he pushed me, but I caught my footing and I took the knife and I slashed it backwards behind me without looking. And it made contact with him and he backed off. Then they had me forced to sit back down on the bench, and Christina Corm came down. She had a medical bag, and he was bleeding a little bit on his chest, but not, like, I didn't stab him, it was just a cut, and they put anti-clotting type stuff on and a bandage on him.
You're watching a special edition of Banfield tonight. My wrenching but important near Orinda, California, on the day she claims she was assaulted. There is no evidence that Mr. Combs was ever in the same room as Ms. Parham. She is completely unbelievable, and no sane person who views the evidence will credit her story, end quote. Let's pick up our conversation with what Ashley says she did after the alleged assault. You were able to make an escape from that backyard. How did that happen, and when did that happen?
That happened because the neighbors had been making noise complaints to the cops, and the neighbor came over to see what was going on one time earlier before the gunfire, and he asked if everything was going on, and the bodyguard turned the gun on him and told him to go away. But then he came back and created the distraction for me to actually run. And that's when I ran towards him in his house. And then someone, I believe it was Sean Combs, from the top of the hill near the front of the actual house, not where I was escaping from, started firing a gun at me.
So at this point, you're making the escape from the backyard. The neighbor is helping. You're running down the street towards the neighbor's house, and there's gunfire, you believe, from Sean Combs. Did you seek shelter? Did you try to find somewhere to, avoid being shot?
Yeah, the neighbor jumped behind a car and I followed him behind the car.
And then did you eventually get to the neighbor's house and be able to call the police?
The neighbor had already called the police and he invited me into the house. And then when the police officer showed up, he really couldn't have cared less about what I was saying. He didn't offer me help. He didn't offer me an ambulance. I told him that Sean Combs had raped me, and he didn't offer me a ride or any type of help. He just left me for dead there.
Did the neighbor at least report there's been gunfire? We've escaped with our lives. We've had to crouch behind a car to escape bullets. Did the police listen to any of that?
Yeah, that police officer heard the neighbors say that we got shot at, and he told him what he had seen and heard.
And Ariel, I'll ask you to step in here. Is there a police report from that night from the Contra Costa police to indicate that they had responded to this gun complaint and obviously what Ashley says was a rape complaint as well?
The Contra Costa sheriff did admit that there was a complaint on March 23rd, 2018, but they claimed they investigated and it was unfounded. So all of the women who have reported alleged sexual assaults to the Contra Costa police have all had their claims investigated and unfounded. I spoke to Ashley's therapist, who informed me that she has treated several, countless women throughout the county who all reported their crimes and the sexual batteries against them to the Contra Costa sheriff, and all of them were found to be unsubstantiated. I actually have spoken to 2 individuals, one of whom is a rape victim of Shane Pierce, who was raped by Shane Pierce 6 years before this incident happened to Ashley. She reported the crime to the police in Contra Costa, and they also unsubstantiated her claim.
And I should mention here that these are allegations until proven in a court of law, but I want to continue with this story as well. It wasn't just the Contra Costa County sheriffs that Ashley made a report to. She also reported this to the Walnut Creek Police and to the Orinda County, or the Orinda Police Department. Ariel, was there any response from those police departments?
So Orinda and Walnut Creek are city police departments, all under the umbrella of Contra Costa County. So I did reach out to them, and they directed me to go through Contra Costa County. And anybody from myself on down who have made public records requests to the county for these reports and these records have all been denied. They refuse to give us any public records that we are entitled to in relation to all of the times Ashley reported this crime to these 3 different police departments.
And I'm assuming this is still part of the investigation in the lawsuit. So I just want to carry on with what happened next in the series of events. Ashley, the police leave, you're at the neighbors. What do you do next?
The neighbor offered that I could sleep on the couch, but after everything I had been through, I just didn't trust anyone. And I knew that they had all left because there was speeding vehicles and screeches when they left. So I just didn't know what to do. I was in a state of shock, and I went back into the apartment to get my belongings, but they were all gone. And the adrenaline had worn off, and my body was just fully exhausted. And I was alone in the room, and I just ended up falling asleep. And I know that doesn't make any sense to people, but the Renda Hills are incredibly dark and windy roads with no street lights. The idea of running half naked down to police who weren't going to help me anyways wasn't going to happen because I assumed that they were going to, Sean Combs people were waiting for me. If I tried to leave, I just lost faith in humanity and kind of just gave up and lied in the bed in a catatonic like state until I fell asleep.
And Shane brought
And
you
then
back
what
here.
happened when you woke up?
And when I woke up, Shane appeared and he gave me back my stuff and he was pretending like nothing bad had happened. So I just went into a fawning type state and was like, okay, we'll just play the game he's trying to pull so I can get out of here. And he gave me my stuff back and I got to leave.
How did you make your way out of there? You now had your keys and you could drive away from this crime scene?
Yeah, I had to use GPS to get back to the freeway because it's not an area I know. And I was able to drive and get home. And when I got home, I was just so destroyed. I just lied in my bed for 3 days, not eating, not sleeping. I couldn't function like a normal human being.
Ashley, the tough question, not just from me, but from any opposing counsel, that would be Sean Combs' lawyers in this case, if it goes to trial. The tough question will be, why would you return to the scene of a gang rape, a shooting, a knifing, and a harrowing escape under gunfire after finding safety at a neighbor's house where he offered to let you stay there? Why would you have returned to such a terrible scene?
Everybody was gone from the place, and I was not in a headspace where I could trust the neighbor because I don't know him, and I was kind of afraid to stay in that house. And I had tried to find my keys so I could at least hide in my car. I kind of just gave up on life, honestly. If they had killed me that night, I wouldn't have cared at that point.
And again, I'm sorry to ask these tough questions. I do think that, I was going to say, and I'm sorry that I have to ask these tough questions. I feel like Sean Combs' lawyers will be a lot tougher than I am. It's hard to understand from an outside perspective why you'd feel less safe with a neighbor who rescued you than walking back towards the crime scene where all those horrible things had happened before you could truly know for sure there was no one still left in that home.
Ashley, I'm going to jump in here because I really feel we're looking at things from a very logical standpoint. You nor I have not been in that situation. And anybody attempting to judge the mindset of somebody in that situation,
Now, I remember Ariel did this before, where she jumped in and pretty much was defending the victim in a sense this way, right? So, a couple of things I want to point out with this particular interview. Lulu, what's going on? Yes, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel as well. If you guys do want to donate and hit the Cash App, the Chill Murray 1 Cash App is right there. Definitely feel free to donate if you guys can. A couple of things I want to point out in this particular interview. The names that are now amended. I'm going to say it again. The names that are now amended. I am not hearing. Let me go on record. Let's make that clear. The names that I'm hearing amended have not been said yet. First thing. Second thing. Right? Second thing is the amended details in this lawsuit are not necessarily lining up with what's going on in this interview. Third thing is, a lot of this story, while the actual incident is happening, is sounding a little bit all over the place. Now, I'm very much an advocate of believe all victims. I'm also very aware that you can be very distraught and disorientated and not be able to comprehend or even recollect certain things that would happen from that evening. So certain things could be a blur as you're explaining them. Understanding of that. For you to be so detailed with certain instances of it, a la you remember specifically in detail of the Tupac killing, of him paying to get Tupac killed. You remember that specifically. You remember specifically of this going from an after party to a studio apartment. From a mansion party to a studio apartment. Okay. We didn't have a certain amount of people that is at this incident that is possibly not lining up with the new amended defendants list. I'm trying to play both sides of the fence here, because I have to, like I said, look at this with a grain of salt, as well as I have to look at this with the truth at the end of the day. Biggest key factor I started noticing as I'm thinking of Ariel mentioned, I was like, what is the coincidence that her name just would come up somewhere else that's possibly close to Diddy, right? Okay. I'm going to get that. So, I'm going to play this clip one more time, but we'll pause it at a certain person. Again, I'm going to play this clip one more time, but I'm going to pause it at a certain person. Why, you ask, my pause and get at Trey Songz? Because Miss Ariel Mitchell, for some strange reason, on her Instagram, mind you, licensed in Florida, mind you, has been an advocate for Trey Songz' sexual abuse allegations. Ironically. Has been notably an advocate saying that someone needs to say something. People called her a bully, this, that, and the third. And even in this post, she's saying now when 50 Cent says the same thing about his ways of Trey Songz, now everybody wants to say something and notice it, right? Again, why do the same people keep getting put with the same people? But could it be, again, this Miss Ariel Mitchell has been around for quite some time, noticing this now. She just established her, I believe her law firm in 2015. So just 10 years ago. So hasn't been in business that long. Hasn't been around that long. But I'm starting to find it quite odd that she's so close to the same celebrity names. Or should I say, she's been an advocate for going against sexual assaults with the same people for quite some time now. She's been an advocate for defending victims of sexual assault strictly by Hollywood for a long time. And that was just something that I noted there, because I'm starting to wonder now if Miss Ariel Mitchell, and I'm going to have to do a little bit more digging, so I might be able to find something somewhere. But I'm starting to wonder now if a certain Ariel Mitchell has any type of ties with a Jay Prince. Because if she does, I believe I will have my answer to where all this is coming from. We already had that suspicion and intuition for quite some time, but I'm starting to realize where all this might be coming from. Okay, so get into. All right, so this is the lawsuit that is out now as of March 7th. Once again, that's why I played the warning joint. Rest in peace to Biggie Smalls, greatest rapper of all time, died on March 9th. Let's see. So, now, again, this is the amended complaint from Miss Ashley Parham. Jane Doe and John Doe. Defendants Sean Combs, Christina Coram, Shane Pierce, Ruben Valdez, John Pelletier were the original names that were on this lawsuit. Now, the added names are Odell Beckham Jr., Drew Desboards, a.k.a. Druski, Jacqueline Wright, a.k.a. Jaguar Wright, Helena Harris Scott, Matias Gonzalez, Brandy Cunningham, Janice Combs, I believe was originally there, but Keith Lux, a.k.a. Big Homie C, and John and Jane Doe's 1 through 10. Now, apparently there were even more people at this particular situation. So let us go down to a couple of things here. Of course, let's go down to the pictures of the defendants that are here. You have Diddy here. You have Christina Coram. You have Shane Pierce. You have Mr. Rubin here. You have Odell Beckham. Ironically, in a picture with Druski and who in the middle? Michael Rubin. Ironically, there's a picture of Michael Rubin, Druski, and Odell together. How ironic is that? I'm just saying, regardless of how ridiculous even the lawsuit sounds, you have to say to yourself, it's kind of crazy. The same people keep hanging out together and ending up in the same place. Again, I ask myself, how does Druski and Odell end up at a Diddy party together? At the same time, they're taking pictures with Michael Rubin together. At the same time, they're also at a Drake video shoot together. I am starting to wonder, how does the same two people end up in the same fucking places each time? Aren't y'all? Defendant Druski and Odell. Again, how do they keep coming up? Oh, ironically, this is at Fanatics. The owner is right there of Fanatics. But this is most certainly a completely different day. So again, why do you two Negroes keep popping up in the same exact places, around the same exact people? There's Jaguar Wright, and we have Helena Scott right here. And this is Brandy Cloninger. Why did she put this particular yikes face on here? They don't have Matthias up here, but this is Janice Combs, of course, and then Big Homie C. All right, so let's go down to line 14 of the allegations. Oop, actually. Ba, 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 ba. All right, so factual allegations coming to all counts. So plaintiff met defendant Shane Pierce in February 2018 after an altercation with another man at a bar, and defendant Shane came to plaintiff's rescue while outside the bar with friends and other patrons. Defendant Shane FaceTime video called defendant Diddy and was showing people defendant Diddy in the video on his phone, attempting to impress the people with his famous friend. Defendant Shane then showed plaintiff Diddy on his video call, which plaintiff ignored, stating she was not impressed by him knowing defendant Diddy because she believed defendant Diddy had something to do with the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur. The murder of rapper Tupac Shakur. Now, visible in the FaceTime call was defendant Diddy and some of his children, including his sons Christian and Quincy. It appeared from the plaintiff's perspective, defendant Diddy was having a get-together at his home during the time of the FaceTime call with defendant Shane. So defendant Diddy heard plaintiffs. Now, I'm noticing how they're not putting they're putting defendant Diddy here, not defendant Combs. They're putting defendant Diddy, not defendant Combs. I want to emphasize that part right here because that should be a typo. Your defendant is Sean Combs, not Diddy. As a lawyer with certain professionalism, you should take it upon you to retract the Diddy parts and replace it with Sean Combs or Mr. Combs. But defendant Diddy, this is a 12-year-old's mistake for a lawyer. This is the Fury B, what's going on? Defendant Diddy heard plaintiffs. I am already cringing at the rest of this lawsuit because you failed to put certain simple as defendant Sean Combs instead of you putting defendant Diddy. Defendant Diddy heard plaintiff's statement and made a remark that plaintiff would pay for her statement regarding Tupac and overall dismissal of defendant Diddy. On March 23rd, 2018, defendant Shane invited plaintiff over to his home to assist him with his cancer medications because he stated he was weak and unable to open his medications. Upon plaintiff's arrival, defendant Shane informed plaintiff that he wanted to give her a ride in his new car. Okay, here we go. Plaintiff and defendant Shane left his residence for a brief period and then returned. Once they returned, defendant Shane left the door to his apartment partially open, and then stated that the door was ajar because there was an issue with the door where it couldn't close completely. Just came from Curtis King's stream and my sides hurt from laughing. Okay. Once they returned, defendant Shane left the door to his apartment partially opened and stated that the door was ajar because there was an issue with the door where it couldn't close completely. Defendant Shane was renting an apartment on the lower floor of a home in Orinda, California. Defendant Shane had a separate entrance into his residence that led to the backyard of the home. The home also had a main entrance on Loma Vista Drive. So defendant Shane rented the home from a woman who lived in the upstairs portion of the home and had 2 dogs who resided with her. Read that again. Defendant Shane rented the home from a woman who lived in the upstairs portion of the home and 2 dogs resided with her. Trying to figure out now, how does this person end up, how does Diddy end up at this house? Plaintiff and defendant Shane then began to watch a movie, and defendant Shane offered her a glass of water, which he retrieved and brought back to plaintiff. Approximately 10 minutes after plaintiff and defendant Shane returned from their drive, defendant Diddy entered defendant Shane residence. Defendant Diddy entered in home in grand, ready-to-party manner. His grandiose entrance was so loud that the dogs upstairs began barking. Now, this sounds a little bit different than what Miss Ashley has already said. Defendant Diddy did not enter the home through the backyard entrance, but instead through the main entrance. Along with defendant Diddy were his bodyguard, defendant Big Homie CC. All of a sudden now, Big Homie CC is the bodyguard now. Defendant KK, defendant Brandy, defendant Doe 2, who upon information, belief is a friend of defendants Shane and Diddy, and defendant Diddy's driver Doe 3, who remained outside in his vehicle during the duration of plaintiff's assault. So I believe Doe 3, if anything, would be Big Homie C's friend. I can't remember his name now. Plaintiff believes defendant Shane invited her over to set her up to be assaulted by defendant Diddy because of the statement she made about defendant Diddy a month prior. Upon defendant Diddy's arrival, he immediately began to antagonize the plaintiff, stating that she thought she would never see him in person. Pay for her statements about Tupac during the video call, and the defendant Diddy caught plaintiff. Plaintiff was in a state of shock. Plaintiff was in shock, and she never believed that she would ever see or meet defendant Diddy in real life, let alone on the small apartment rented by defendant Shane. Defendant Diddy then began advancing towards where plaintiff was sitting on defendant Shane's bed with a knife, and held it to the right side of plaintiff's face and threatened to give her a glass glow smile in retaliation for her previous statements on the video call. Defendant KK told defendant Diddy that she did not think giving a plaintiff a glass glow smile would be advantageous to their potential clients who they could sell plaintiff for sex to. Okay, so like I said, already the whole dogs barking when Diddy entered. I haven't heard I thought you wasn't going to see me. Instead, it was she was shocked that she saw Diddy in this particular amended case here, saying that Big Homie CC entered, as well as a few other people have also entered. There's quite more people in this particular situation than what she originally stated in this case here. It's quite a few more people. That's like I said, that's the first thing I'm also noticing. And like I said, there's certain things that just aren't lining up. Even the threaten to give her a glass glow smile, retaliation for her previous statements on the video call, that's not lining up with the reasons of why she was going to be denied for sex trafficking. Okay. Defendant KK told defendant Diddy that she did not think giving plaintiff a glass glow smile would be advantageous to their potential clients who they could sell plaintiff for sex to. Defendant KK then made a threat to plaintiff that they could ship her off anywhere in the world, and that she would never see her family or anyone else that she knew ever again. Defendant Shane then partially undressed plaintiff, then defendant Diddy removed the remainder of plaintiff's clothing, removing the knife from her face, and then retrieved a bottle of liquid from a large fanny pack. Defendant Diddy then squirted a bottle of liquid on plaintiff, which placed her in fear and she was being squirted with a chemical substance like acid. Now, let me back up a little bit. Let me back up just a little bit. Back up just a little bit here. Okay, so listen to this part here. Plaintiff and defendant Shane then began to watch a movie, and defendant Shane offered a glass of water, which he retrieved, brought back to the plaintiff. At that point, remember in the interview where she says, I felt a little bit off when she drank the water. Does she say she felt off here when she drank that water? Just pointing that part out there. Just pointing that, just little things like that you have to pay attention to. Because in court, they're going to chew that ass up. Over these little things, they're going to chew people up over. Defendant Diddy then squirted a bottle of liquid on plaintiff, which placed her in fear that she was being squirted with a chemical substance like acid. Plaintiff soon realized that the substance was an oil lubricant. Plaintiff was squirted with his liquid substance over the entirety of her naked body. Defendant KK was then told by defendant Diddy to insert what looked like a syringe from sterile packaging into plaintiff's vagina. Defendant KK did as told while assisted by defendant Brandy, and then told defendant Diddy that they were unable to use the IUD because it had prematurely been released from its packaging. Defendant Diddy, upset by this, took the syringe from defendant KK and tried inserting it into plaintiff's vagina instead. Defendant KK and Diddy began to argue as defendant KK continued to advise defendant Diddy that since the IUD had been permanently... Now, see, there's another thing, too. Remember, I don't remember hearing about the IUD part. I don't remember hearing about the IUD. I just remember the remote. But not this. This part wasn't even included in the interview. I don't remember anything about the syringe part. I remember it was straight to the remote. It sounded like it went straight to the goddamn remote. Matter of fact, let me see something real quick. My video player really gonna act up with me right now? Okay. That's fine. Because I want to hear that part.
We're all in the backyard, sitting outside, just having.
We're gonna hear
fun
just
with
the incident part.
So I put that on, and the knife that Sean Combs had put against my face earlier, where he wanted to cut my face, and Christina Korm told him that it wouldn't be good for human trafficking to me, that clients wouldn't like it. I found that knife because they had left it in there. So I tried to hide it on my left side underneath partially of the t-shirt. And I stepped outside, and that's right where the bodyguard was. He raped me as well while Sean Combs.
Did you know who these people were, or have you come to learn who they are because of the alleged assault that happened?
I learned who they were afterwards, other than Sean Combs.
And so now, if you can, and I'm sorry these questions are so difficult. I'm following along with the affidavit for the most part. Can you tell me what happened after you say Sean Combs allegedly raped you with the TV remote? What happened after that in that bedroom with all of those people present?
They took turns raping me, and Sean Combs raped me anally. Shane Pierce also raped me, but vaginally. And the bodyguard guy, he raped me as well while Sean Combs was sitting in a chair naked, filming it and jerking off to watching me being raped.
Sean Combs was masturbating while you say the other members of his party were taking turns with you?
Yeah.
And what happened next?
And I looked for my stuff, my shoes, my clothes, my purse, my keys, and my phone, and none of it was there. And I found a random large black t-shirt. So I put that on, and I
decided to go on national television.
He claimed he wasn't feeling well from his cancer treatment and he needed help opening his medication. So I went over there to help him out, and it turned out he was just fine and he didn't need my help. It was weird. He wanted to show me his new car, and he took me on a short drive around the Rinda Hills, and then we got back to his little bachelor pad in the house, and he offered me a glass of water, and I drank it, and I started to feel a little bit off. And then I heard a bunch of people coming down the stairs, and it was Sean Combs and a whole bunch of people who just busted in the door and in just a boisterous manner and acting. He said something like, "Bet you didn't think you were ever going to see me." And I was just in complete shock and frozen.
Bingo. Bingo. Again, you didn't say any of this in this lawsuit. Jay Porter, what's going on? The bet you didn't see, that bet you didn't think you was going to see me, that doesn't even appear in here. It's just little things.
And what happened next?
He basically started threatening me with human trafficking, and that they could take me anywhere and sell me. He had Christina Parham. He ordered her to insert a copper IUD into my vagina, but luckily it deployed before she could actually get it inside me.
Okay, that's what I was trying to wait for, the IUD part.
Like inside the cervix, and that's when Sean Combs got extremely angry and he grabbed the TV remote and sexually assaulted me vaginally with the remote extremely violently.
Where in the apartment did this happen?
And it was in the house. It has a little studio apartment underneath the house, and it was on the bed because it was a really tiny.
Okay, so let's continue this suit. So the UID had been prematurely released from its packaging. It has no way that it could insert it into plaintiff's vagina effectively. After some time, defendant Diddy had heeded the advice of defendant KK and had removed the syringe from plaintiff's vagina and handed it to defendant KK. Okay. Again, yes, probably the wildest part of this story is that IUD syringe being inserted into her. Yes, that is the wildest part of this story here. Defendant KK and defendant Brandy then exited defendant Shane's residence, leaving plaintiff alone with defendants Diddy, Shane, and John Doe's, who have been named herein. Defendant Diddy then picked up a television remote that was near plaintiff and violently inserted it into plaintiff's vagina. Plaintiff Diddy, while violently raping plaintiff with a television remote, told plaintiff that her life was in his hands and that if he wanted, he could take her and she would never be seen again. Plaintiff began hysterically crying from the threats by defendant Diddy, along with the pain of being violently vaginally raped by defendant Diddy with the TV remote, as well as the lingering pain from the ordeal with the IUD syringe insertion. Defendant Diddy then instructed defendant Shane to turn plaintiff on her stomach, seemingly tired of hearing the plaintiff's blood-curdling cries. Defendant Shane then grabbed the plaintiff by her abdomen and hips and turned plaintiff on her stomach. Defendant Diddy then instructed defendant Shane to put a pillow over her head because he didn't want to see her face or hear her cries, and instructed defendant Shane to anally rape plaintiff. Like I said, hers is a little bit more detailed. I will say that. Defendant Shane did as he was told by defendant Diddy and began to anally rape plaintiff. Defendant Diddy then violently raped plaintiff anally after defendant Shane. Defendant Doe too then joined defendants Diddy and Shane, taking a turn anally raping plaintiff. Immediately after defendant Dill, raped plaintiff, he exited defendant Shane's residence. Defendant Diddy, so they just went take turns, leaving out the crib, leave out the crib, leave out the crib, leave out the crib. It's crazy how they just, bring him in, kick him out with this one. This is wild. He even read. Still is very. This is true. This is still one of the more wilder lawsuits that we read here. Defendant Diddy then instructed by another defendant Doe to also rape plaintiff. Defendant Doe has been determined to be defendant Druski. Now, see, here's where I also want to here's where I want to put an emphasis on something, right? What's the quickest, or should I say the easiest way for a person to get famous is to what? Have something on them, right? Who's to say that Druski's sacrifice for the fame was this moment right here? Who's to say that that was not the case? We all know the term of do something strange for a little bit of change. It doesn't always have to be the gay for pay. As far as that goes, it could be something along the lines of this. And of course, the elites will be looking at it like, good job, good job, good job. But they were just testing you to see if you would be down with what's even going to happen. Okay. So again, I can definitely see an initiation happening with a said Druski allegedly here. I can definitely see some type of initiation being happening here if it's 2018. And then, of course, it makes even more sense with 2019 and 2020. You're popping up in Louis Vuitton talking about you're comfortable in Diddy's house. I can definitely see something like that happening considering this particular situation. Again, allegedly, of course. But I can definitely see where that sacrifice would happen. Okay. Again, I'm going to reemphasize that. Can definitely see where you said, okay, it's either I do this or I go back home and stay broke forever. Okay. I can definitely see that happening right here. Instead of immediately raping plaintiff, defendant Druski, defendant Druski doused plaintiff with more oil and more baby oil, and then jumped onto plaintiff's naked and oiled body, treating it like a slip and slide and knocking the wind out of the plaintiff due to his size. I guess that's going to say due to his enormous size. Defendant Druski then caught himself from sliding over plaintiff's oiled body and off the bed. He then began raping plaintiffs vaginally. While defendant Druski was raping plaintiff, defendant Diddy sat in a chair near the bed and began masturbating while recording reporting plaintiff rape by defendant. See, this is where that part that I just said makes a lot of sense. Druski being filmed doing this. Again, can definitely see a scenario where someone was said, hey, you do this, you'll be famous forever. Well, about 2 years. We kind of went down the timeline earlier. Just about 2 years. I want to say even a year and a half. He said he was doing the videos in 2017. About 2018, 2019, things started to pop for him, ironically, right? Between 2018 and 2019, things definitely started to take off and go somewhere. Because, like I said, you were definitely chilling with Justin Combs at the time in 2019. Because in 2020, late 2020, December, you would shoot that video of you being comfortable in Diddy's house. Now, you don't just become comfortable in a Diddy's house unless you've either A, been to a Diddy's house already, or B, you know somebody that lives in the house, which we found out it was Justin Combs. You are Justin Combs' homeboy. At the end of the day, you are always going to be Justin Combs and Justin LeBoy homeboy. So, like I said, it's very believable that Druski could be there. Okay, so let's see. Another party's phone fell on the bed near plaintiff. Plaintiff then attempted to grab the phone, but it slipped out of her hands and onto the floor due to the oil lubricant that had been doused all over her person. That had been doused all over her person by defendants Diddy and Druski. Okay, so defendant Diddy began laughing at plaintiff's attempt to grab the phone. Throughout this violent gang rape, defendant Diddy made constant belittling remarks to plaintiff, including that he owned her now. I'm trying to figure out where Odell comes in with this. At some point during his ordeal, plaintiff members, defendants referring to another defendant, Doe, as Cornelius, and remembered the name because it was so odd and unique. Plaintiff has come to discover that defendant Doe Cornelius, who raped her, was defendant Odell. Why would Cornelius be just randomly named though and not Odell? That part kind of weirded me out because, like I said, why would they say Cornelius and not Odell? Like, is that his, like, I guess, main name that they call him around the home? Is Cornelius? There's just something sounds a little bit off with that one. Plaintiff's body was becoming more and more limp over the course of the violent rape until eventually she had no control over her body, nor could she move her body. When defendant Druski finished raping plaintiff, defendant KK entered the room to examine the condition of plaintiff, who was barely able to move or control her body functions. So it went from Druski to Odell back to Druski. Is what I gathered there. So when defendant Druski finished raping, plaintiff defendant KK entered the room to examine the condition of plaintiff, who was barely able to move or control her bodily functions. Defendant KK examined the plaintiff to see if she indeed if she needed assistance and was about to give plaintiff an IV fluid. Plaintiff cannot be certain if she did. Plaintiff cannot be certain if this is worded terribly. Plaintiff cannot be certain is she did or did not receive such intravenous intervention. Defendant KK that opened a different bag, different than the one defendant Diddy removed from with the oil, where plaintiff observed several medicine bottles, IV fluid bags, and other identifiable powder like drugs. Defendant KK then removed a pill from one of the medicine bottles and gave it to defendant Diddy. Defendant Diddy then inserted the pill into plaintiff's mouth and down her throat to where plaintiff had no choice but to ingest the unknown pill. Defendant Diddy, Shane, KK, Odell, and Druski then excited the residents to the backyard where they smoked marijuana and cigarettes. Plaintiff remained in an almost lifeless state in defendant Shane's bedroom until she finally regained her bodily functions. Says plaintiff then began looking for her clothes and her purse that contained her car keys and cell phone, but could not discover them in the room or anywhere in the apartment. Plaintiff was only able to find, a T-shirt on the floor, which she put on to cover her naked body. Plaintiff also observed a black condom wrapper on the floor of the bedroom, which she assumed was used by one of the defendants, most likely defendant Diddy, during the rape. Plaintiff then found a knife with the assistance of the doe. Plaintiffs had headed to backyard where the defendants were smoking, and that was the only way to exit the premises on the street. I don't necessarily know that, considering its windows, things like that of that nature. You could have just dove out the shit. I don't know. Plaintiff concealed the knife on her left side as she exited the apartment to the backyard. Upon coming to the exit of the home, which led to the backyard, plaintiff was met by defendant Big Homie CC, who was standing at the door between the residence and the backyard. But by the time plaintiff was able to compose herself and come to the backyard, defendant KK was no longer was no longer in the backyard, but upstairs in the patio balcony with defendant and Brandy. Defendant Doe allowed plaintiff to walk into the backyard where defendants were still smoking. Okay. Defendant Doe did not see the knife that the plaintiff concealed on her left side, as it was obstructed by the oversized T-shirt plaintiff was wearing. Plaintiff observed defendant Diddy still partially nude from the assault, while the other defendants had on other clothing. Defendant Shane then left to the upstairs portion of the patio balcony where defendant KK and Brandy were already situated. Plaintiff then sat down on a makeshift seat in the backyard when defendant Diddy noticed her presence and remarked that he was surprised she was able to walk because he had given her enough drugs to take out a horse. Okay, so let me just put it right here. Anyway. Plaintiff then asked defendant Diddy what he gave her, and he laughed and did not provide a response. Defendant Diddy then made further comments to plaintiff in a jovial, friendly manner, asking her why they hadn't partied yet together before because it was so much fun, and he hadn't had any ass that tight in a while. My goodness. I'll just read that part again for you guys who just didn't, catch on. So defendant Diddy then made further comments to plaintiff in a jovial, friendly manner, asking her why they hadn't partied together before because it was so much fun, and he hadn't any ass that tight in a while. He hadn't had any ass that tight in a while. Defendant Big Homie CC then, I don't know why that's even in there. He hadn't had an ass that tight in a while. That shouldn't be in there. I'm just now reading this part. He hadn't had any ass that tight in a while. Why is that part of this? That shouldn't be in this lawsuit. Defendant Big Homie CC then quipped at defendant Diddy that he hadn't had any ass that tight because he's not used to having any anal sex with women, which defendant Diddy and Doe laughed at. Plaintiff then told defendant Diddy she did not party with him and she did not enjoy partying with him and that he raped her. Defendant Diddy did not like plaintiff's response to his lighthearted commentary and offered plaintiff money and instructed plaintiff to say that the violent rape was consensual and the plaintiff was a sex worker. Plaintiff became enraged and yelled at defendant Diddy that her rape was not consensual, she was not a sex worker, and she refused to take any money from him, and he would tell the police that he had raped her. Defendant Diddy then told plaintiff no one would ever believe she had been raped by him, and if she did tell anyone such, that they would harm her family. Defendant Big Homie CC then showed plaintiff his phone, which looked as if it was the outside of plaintiff's estranged sister's residence, as she could see her sister sitting on the couch and her sister's spouse on the balcony. It looked as if someone was outside on the residence streaming this video to defendant Big Homie CC's phone. Plaintiff, while rattled by what she was seeing on defendant Big Homie CC's phone, was still angry about being gang raped and was not complying with defendant Diddy's request to take the money, being offered to say the rape was consensual. So here's where, of course, like I said, Janice Combs comes into play. And it's just kind of crazy how she keeps coming up as the savior of all this. Again, testament to show that she has the receipts that everybody's talking about. Defendant Diddy then called defendant Janice in an effort to further convince plaintiff not to report her assault. Defendant Janice yelled at plaintiff to not hurt her son. Plaintiff told defendant Janice that her son had violently raped plaintiff. Defendant Janice, seemingly unfazed by the statement, then continued her demands with plaintiff to take the money being offered and not report the rape to law enforcement. It's funny how Janice was saying this, right? Again, this is someone that definitely has some type of information on this family and their doings. Like I said, that's why it's very ironic that Ariel Mitchell is the one that is defending this, because she's also an advocate for the Trey Songz sexual allegations. And I'm starting to wonder, like I said, does she have some type of tie with Jay Prince in any type of way here? Defendant Big Homie CC then turned to defendant Diddy and pulled his gun on him, asking him to repeat what he said in reference to Tupac. As the two of them were exchanging words, plaintiff went behind defendant Big Homie CC, where he seemingly began to protect plaintiff. Defendant Big Homie C then advanced to defendant Diddy, questioning him over the comments he made about Tupac. During this commotion, a neighbor directly across the street came outside and peered into the backyard and asked what all the commotion was about. Defendant Big Homie CC then pointed the gun at the neighbor and instructed him to mind his business and return to his residence. And defendant Big Homie CC then turned his gun back to defendant Diddy. Plaintiff, not far behind defendant Big Homie CC, tried to grab defendant Big Homie CC's handgun, but that didn't, of course, that didn't work. The gun then went off and hit a hill behind defendant Shane's residence. Defendant Diddy then ran up the back stone stairs near the hill in the backyard towards where defendant KK, Shane, and Bradley were. Let me see. Plaintiff charged towards defendant Diddy, moving the concealed knife from her left hand to the right hand in the pursuit of defendant Diddy. Plaintiff then pushed defendant Diddy from behind while on the stone stairs outside, causing him to fall with his back to plaintiff. Okay. Plaintiff then raised the knife in a rage from the events that just transpired, and with the intent of drinking the knife or driving for the knife into defendant Diddy's back when he turned around and began pleading for his life. Plaintiff, shocked now to see defendant Diddy acting as a victim, a moment of clarity, and then turned and ran down the outdoor stone staircase. Okay, back out to the backyard to escape. Defendant Diddy then chased plaintiff down the stairs and attempted to push her, but she was already at the bottom of the stairs and gained her footing and wielded the knife at defendant Diddy, grazing his abdomen. Hearing the commotion, defendant KK and Brandy emerged, and defendant KK then began administering first aid to defendant Diddy for the injuries caused by plaintiff. Plaintiff tried to make quick dash for the exit, but it was thwarted by another defendant, Doe. After a period of time, plaintiff was able to, abscond from defendant Doe due to the first aid commotion with defendant Diddy, and was able to run down the street. Let me run this down now myself. So once plaintiff made it onto the street, she began yelling loudly for someone to call the police. Defendant Doe, who had now caught up to plaintiff, advised plaintiff that he was an undercover cop. To this day, plaintiff isn't sure that the truth, the falsity, that the statement. Okay, so they're saying that Big Homie CC ran up on him and say, "Hey, I'm a cop." That part I believe there. The same neighbor then again emerged from his residence asking what was transpiring. Just as plaintiff was attempting to answer, gunshots began being fired in plaintiff's direction. Plaintiff fled to a car near where the neighborhood was also taking cover and lost sight of defendant Doe. Plaintiff then heard a SUV screeching and speeding, leaving the residence. Plaintiff then entered the home of the neighbor, who informed her that he had already called police. Plaintiff informed the neighbor that it was Sean Combs who had raped her and shot at them, but the neighbor was unaware who defendant Diddy was. Shortly thereafter, a sheriff from the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department arrived at neighbor's home. Plaintiff identified the person who arrived at the neighbor's home, posing as a Contra Costa sheriff, was defendant Pelletier. Plaintiff told defendant Pelletier, being he was a sheriff from local police, she had been violently gang raped by defendant Diddy and others, that she did not have her clothes, phone, purse, car keys, or cell phone. Just wow right there. Defendant Pelletier, falsely posing as a Contra Costa sheriff, told plaintiff and the neighbor Defendant Pelletier, falsely posing as a Contra Costa sheriff, told plaintiff and the neighbor that they had received several noise complaints. Prior to the neighbor's call, instructed plaintiff to find a way to get home. The sheriff, defendant Pelletier, did not offer to take plaintiff home, nor did he call for the emergency services, including an ambulance, nor any offer to take plaintiff to the hospital, nor any officer to help plaintiff recover the clothes or effects from the dominant Shane's residence. From the defendant Shane's residence, Contra Costa Sheriff have confirmed that a police report was made that night by plaintiff Parham. The Contra Costa Sheriffs have refused to release any information related to the complaint on the night in question to any source, despite numerous attempts made via Fredham. Okay, so plaintiff observed defendant Pelletier hand something to the neighbor, what looked to be an envelope at the door. As defendant Pelletier, excited, the neighbor went to the other ones below it. Okay, so I was trying to read I was trying to scroll up here and look at the joints too. The neighbor went to a nearby room and quickly returned empty-handed. Plaintiff believes the envelope contained cash. So again, that's just repeating about with Janice Combs told her to take the cash. Neighbor offered to let plaintiff sleep on his couch until she could figure out a way to get her possessions and get home. But plaintiff declined, uneasy and unsure about the exchange with police and the neighbor and police. And only remained at the neighbor's residence for a short period of time. So remember before, we read this before, so she was saying that she didn't trust the neighbor because, of course, she just got raped. She didn't believe any stranger at the time, or I should say she shouldn't have taken any advice from any stranger at the time, let alone walk into somebody's house after you just got raped by a bunch of people you barely even knew. It was a little bit odd about that part, too, that you necessarily didn't want to take help from this guy, but you still went to his house, butt-ass naked, after you just got raped. Graped, I should say. I'll say graped on here. Okay, so the neighbor offered to let plaintiff sleep on the couch. She could figure out a way to get her possessions to get home, but plaintiff declined, uneasy and unsure about the exchange with police and the neighbor and police, and only remained in the neighbor's residence for a short period of time. Once defendant Pelletier, posing as Contra Costa law enforcement, left. Plaintiff then went back to defendant Shane's residence, where she found the door open and her clothes were readily accessible in his residence. So that's another thing too. After you got raped, most people would have just left, got new clothes, just and a third, whatever, right? No, you go back to where you got raped at. That was another red flag here that everybody just started, the Biggie shock face though. You went back to the same place that you got raped at. It's a little bit odd to me. Defendant Shane then emerged as if nothing had transpired and offered for plaintiff to stay at his residence while she slept it off. Plaintiff asked for her purse and her keys, but defendant Shane told her she shouldn't leave in her condition, and plaintiff, catatonic and in the state of shock and disbelief of the events that transpired, stayed at defendant Shane's home while defendant Shane left the home. Later that morning, defendant Shane returned to the residence and woke plaintiff up and finally gave her back her purse, cell phone, and keys, and plaintiff left defendant's residence. In a daze, plaintiff returned home and tried to make sense out of what happened to her. March 26, 2018, plaintiff contacted her primary care doctor and asked for an HIV STD test in fear of possibly having contracted disease from her violent rape. Plaintiff tried to continue her life as she felt she wouldn't be believed, as plaintiff already had told what she believed to the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department. Defendant Diddy raped her to no avail. Further, plaintiff was under the impression if she did continue to say defendant Diddy's name in relation to her assault, she would not be believed and her family would be in danger. Seemingly mere days, maybe even the day before plaintiff's vicious rape, defendant Shane had miraculously began driving a new car. Plaintiff believes this was payment by defendant Diddy for setting up plaintiff to be raped. Plaintiff went to the hospital, where the hospital conducted several tests on plaintiff, including a rape kit, ultrasound, and x-rays. Additionally, plaintiff was given IV fluids to stabilize her vitals, as she was in a severe weakened state from being unable to eat and losing a substantial amount of weight since the rape had occurred. While at the hospital, plaintiff told members of her treatment team about her horrific assault, and they then contacted the Walnut Creek Police. Walnut Creek Police showed up to plaintiff's hospital room and took a statement regarding her assault. Plaintiff only told Walnut Creek Police about the assault from defendants Shane and Doe. Plaintiff believes her statement made to Walnut Creek Police while at the hospital was captured by police body cam footage. This is plaintiff further believes her statements made on March 23rd, immediately after the vicious assault, where plaintiff named defendant Diddy directly by name, may be captured by body cam footage as well, but upon determining the sheriff was defendant Pelletier does not believe it. It was captured as he was a co-conspirator. The plaintiff filed a report to the Orinda Police Department on April 17, 2018. but was too afraid to name defendant Diddy as one of her assailants. During this report, plaintiff provided her clothing to the police from the night of the assault, but they only returned her underwear. To date, the underwear was never returned, and plaintiff believes no investigation ever commenced. Plaintiff sought assistance from therapists in May 2018, one of which tried to have her therapy appointments covered by a victims compensation fund, which was rejected because plaintiff was told no law enforcement agency had opened an active investigation into any of her many reports of her violent gang rape. Subsequently, thereafter, plaintiff asked police for a copy of her report from the Walnut Creek Police Department on July 19, 2018. Plaintiff was provided a letter from the Walnut Creek Police Department stating that it was unable to furnish this information that is confidential and not subject to public release, despite plaintiff not being the public and the victim complainant. In March 2024, plaintiff was re-traumatized by all the events surrounding defendant Diddy, including the several civil suits, complaints filed against him, as well as the raid on defendant Diddy, which this is the anniversary of him getting raided. This is crazy. This is literally the anniversary of him getting raided. Okay, so it says down here the plaintiffs John and Jane Doe's. John and Jane Doe's are mother and son. Plaintiffs were taken from their Las Vegas residence by defendant Pelletier as they walked to their vehicle. Just so we are clear on who certain plaintiff Jane and John Doe's are. Those are here, but this looks like it is blanked out. Either way, okay, so as I said before, that was pretty much the end of that lawsuit. Either way, I can't call bullshit on the lawsuit. I repeat, I cannot call bullshit on the lawsuit itself. What I can call bullshit on is all of these people saying that they were not at this party. What happened was, what's going on? It's everybody that's saying that they was not at this party that I can't get with. I think that's the biggest thing that bothers me about this whole thing. Big homie C saying he never been at one. Clearly said he did. Druski saying he didn't know nothing and never been at one. Yes, he was. So it's one of those, like, just reading the lawsuit back in general, right? When I read the lawsuit back here, just alone, right? The fact that there's people that are just going in and out of this place. People are going in and out. So Odell Beckham is just randomly coming in and then leaving. Druski is just randomly coming in and leaving. Jaguar Wright randomly coming in and leaving, which I didn't even hear about what Jaguar did. Did y'all? Did y'all hear anything about what Jaguar Wright did? I don't recall, unless besides the fact that we read she was defendant, I didn't read anything about Jaguar Wright doing anything in here. Especially as far as the incident. I'm still trying to figure out where Jaguar Wright came from. Why is she a defendant in this lawsuit without being said she did anything? I mean, I could even skim through it, but like I said, to see if I missed something, but does anybody else see Jaguar Wright name in here? Here we go. So there was a second raping that happened, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go back up real quick, because there's a second one that I missed. I feel like this is a whole nother incident right here. I feel like it's a whole nother incident. Plaintiffs did not have any warrants nor convictions. Plaintiffs demanded to be shown the warrants, and defendant Pelletier refused and threatened to shoot plaintiff if they protested further. In the back of the black SUV was defendant Valdez. Defendant was unknown to plaintiff at the time. Defendant was dressed in dark clothes and instructed plaintiffs not to look at him. See, this part was not added in the actual interview either. She gets mentioned in the second case. Okay, yes, that's what I'm reading right here. Okay, so I wasn't even aware there was a second incident. I'm glad I continued because I wanted to see where Jaguar Wright was even placed at. Defendant was dressed in dark clothes, instructed plaintiffs not to look at him. And crazy, I even said that Jaguar went on record saying that she had been a mistress for them. And then the next thing I see is something very mistress-esque. Plaintiffs were then transported to what they believe was defendant Pelletier's residence at, I guess they blanked this out, but Bay Street, Las Vegas. I don't know why, if this is the amended complaint, just put this shit out. Plaintiffs were ordered inside and brought into a living room and forced to sit on the couch and were physically restrained. This almost sounds like something out of Dubois right now. Plaintiffs demanded to speak to their attorney, which was refused, ignored, or met with threats of violence. It became obvious to plaintiffs that this was not a legal arrest and that the Pelletier was acting outside of color of law. At some point thereafter, plaintiffs were ordered back of a large black SUV. Defendant Gonzalez was given to the keys to plaintiff's vehicle at SUV to follow behind the SUV. Defendants Gonzalez and Pelletier had a list which, upon information and belief, was a list of safe houses which they could allow parties a safe respite undetected. Defendant Pelletier appeared to be in charge, and he and defendant Valdez were both giving out orders to the other co-conspirator defendants. Plaintiffs overhear repeated conversations in the vehicle while being kidnapped and transported about following protocol made by defendant Pelletier to others. Upon information and belief, this protocol was agreed upon codes, including the use of communication apps while WhatsApp and other Snapchat satellite phones, and referring to other co-conspirator defendants by their middle names. It was apparent to plaintiffs this was a professional operations syndicate. This is almost starting to sound like a whole operation here. Remember that $150 billion operation I keep telling you about? That's this starting to sound like this part of. It was apparent to plaintiffs this was a professional operations syndicate. Plaintiffs were then trafficked from Las Vegas, Nevada to various locations through California. See, now we're getting down to some nitty-gritty details here. The first location plaintiffs were able to identify was in Danville, California. In the convoy with the SUV, plaintiffs were placed in an also included plaintiff's SUV that was driven by defendant Gonzalez. Upon information and belief, defendant KK was in another SUV, part of the convoy. At some point, defendant Gonzalez complained he had trouble keeping up with the convoy of black SUVs because the SUVs ran poorly. It said plaintiffs allege the convoy drive was for numerous hours, but the exact time was uncertain as they were unable to keep adequate track of time. The next location, plaintiffs were taken among the safe houses on their route to an unknown destination. Of course, they don't have the address here, which I don't know why they don't put the address. Plaintiffs heard some altercation with the owners of the home not wanting to be involved. The defendants, maybe they have an investigation going with that address. It's possible as well. Maybe that's why they haven't said it. Plaintiffs heard some altercation with the owners of the home not wanting to be involved with defendant's scheme. Plaintiffs attempted to plead to the owners for help and could not understand why they wouldn't heed plaintiffs' cries for help. Plaintiffs heard the owners speak a foreign language which they believe was Farsi. Upon information and belief, this location was approximately 20 miles from the home in Orinda, where plaintiff Parham was also assaulted. During the transportation of plaintiffs across state lines, they were given water to drink, which plaintiffs believed was drugged. Defendant Valdez would provide plaintiffs the water, which after drinking, plaintiffs would feel slightly euphoric, dizzy, and then sick. Defendant Valdez would demand plaintiffs drink the water, but they refused and or faked consumption. During the transportation, plaintiffs were forced to listen to a device which music similar to a device associated with defendant KK's nonprofit organization Music Beats Hearts in order to prevent plaintiffs from eavesdropping on the defendant conversations. At certain times, the music stopped playing, and plaintiff John Doe was able to get the earbuds partially out of one ear without defendants noticing. Defendants noticing to hear conversations about the plans they had for plaintiffs. Plaintiffs were taken then to another location at something Boulevard, El Cerrito, California. I mean, you can only but so many boulevards, I guess, that are in El Cerrito. You can definitely look that up with that zip code there. Plaintiffs were able to keep track of their location by remembering cross streets when they were finally let out of the vehicle for stops. At this location, plaintiffs observed an RV recreational vehicle arrive at the residence during this is a very detailed trafficking scenario here too, I see. During the stop is when plaintiff noticed defendant KK was part of the convoy. At this stop, plaintiff overheard defendant KK being referred to as her code name, believed to be her middle name, Natasha, discussing visiting the UC Berkeley campus as defendant seemed very familiar with the area and familiar with the city. Upon information and belief, this location was approximately 7 miles from the home in Orinda where plaintiffs were assaulted. Plaintiffs were then taken to another location at the Beacon Grand Hotel. Sir Francis Drake. Defendant Shane worked at the hotel as manager. Plaintiffs were taken into the hotel through what appeared to be the side entrance by defendants Valdez, Pelletier, and Gonzalez. Like I said, it's a whole trafficking unit here. Defendant Pelletier told the co-conspirator defendants he would stay at a different hotel nearby so it wouldn't be linked to him. Once inside the hotel room, plaintiffs were beaten and drugged by defendant Valdez and Gonzalez. Plaintiffs pleaded with Valdez and Gonzalez to be released for mercy. Defendant Valdez and Gonzalez instructed plaintiffs to sign paperwork at gunpoint. When plaintiffs refused, defendant Gonzalez would pistol whip plaintiffs on the back of their heads. It's saying it does as a side entrance to it. Defendant Valdez and Gonzalez instructed plaintiffs to sign paperwork at gunpoint. When plaintiffs refused, defendant Valdez would pistol whip plaintiffs on the side of the back of their heads. Defendant Gonzalez eventually gave plaintiffs a drink, which caused them to pass out. Let me just move it down here a little bit. Plaintiffs spent the night at the hotel with defendants Gonzalez and Valdez, taking turns watching them. The next morning, plaintiffs were restrained and bound by their hands and found in front were placed into a vehicle. Plaintiffs then saw defendants Jaguar and Helena. Upon information and belief, defendants Jaguar and Helena were in a small sedan, light color, white or beige. Plaintiffs Plaintiffs were then transported to the location of plaintiff Parham brutal assault on Loma Vista Drive by defendant Jaguar and Helena. Defendant Helena was the driver of the defendant Jaguar with the passenger. Defendant Helena warned plaintiffs if they tried to escape or run that she would have to shoot you. Defendant Helena also warned plaintiffs not to throw up in her vehicle, saying that you better not throw up in my car or get sick. Defendant Helena mentioned having two partners as backup who were bounty hunters. Plaintiffs were familiar with defendant Helena as she had filed a lawsuit against her superstar singer Michael Jackson. Okay, here's some facts about her. So Helena filed a suit against Michael in 2005 and filed a creditor's claim against the Jackson estate upon his untimely demise. Let me see something real quick. Once again, guys, if you're just tuning in, please remember to like and subscribe on the channel. Do feel free to make a donation to the Cash App, Chill Murray 1 there. If you guys would like to see more of these things here, definitely feel free. It always goes a long way. I do greatly appreciate it. So, yeah, this is, let me see. Oh, she sued Michael Jackson for stalking and harassment back in 2006, it says. Kim Crawford, what's going on? Yeah, it says she sued Michael Jackson for stalking and harassment in 2006. She wanted $50 million from Michael's estate, it says. Here it goes right here. Okay, we don't got to go off the topic of that, though. Okay. So plaintiffs were familiar with defendant Helena from her previous Michael Jackson lawsuits and had previously met with the defendant at her home in West Hollywood to determine their credibility of her claims and if they were similar in nature to plaintiffs. Plaintiffs had reported defendant Helena multiple times to the LA and OC FBI field officers for her role in the criminal syndicate with defendants Pelletier, Valdez, and other individuals. So it's not like this is also the first. This is something that they definitely have to do an investigation on, but they probably won't. If you are saying that this is some type of like brotherly love, sisterly love syndicate that they have going on. That's been going on for years like this. It's a whole crime syndicate that's been going on. And again, you know this, but because this person is possible law enforcement also, you just keep the gun, you just keep it going. Okay. I get it. So obviously these Pelletier, Valdez, and because Pelletier is supposed to be the fake cop. I wasn't too sure who Valdez and Gonzalez was yet, but I'm getting to know who they are. So plaintiffs attempted to make conversations with defendant Helena in which she admitted she was the same person who plaintiffs had met with previously. Defendant Jaguar aggravated stated, "You let them know who you are. That's really great." Plaintiffs noticed defendants had large brown bags and manila envelopes full of cash that was banded. It appeared they were separating the large sums of cash to distribute as they were placing cash into the manila envelopes. Defendant Jaguar discussed with defendant Helena how the party started the first black-owned network. Upon information and belief, plaintiffs believed that network. Wait, what? Defendant Jaguar discussed with defendant Helena how the parties started the first black-owned network. Upon information and belief, plaintiffs believed that network to be Revolt TV. Defendant Jaguar and defendant Helena discussed the co-conspirators but referred to them by their middle names: Natasha, Pedro, Lyra, Cornelius, and Larry, shortened for Lawrence. What's she going about? Or was that their actual middle names? When defendant Jaguar said Cornelius, it upset defendant Helena, who said defendants Odell and Druski were her clients, and nothing better happened to them, and plaintiffs would better not say anything about them, or she would have plaintiffs killed. Defendant Jaguar then told plaintiffs they were being taken to meet John. The plaintiffs now know that that was referring to defendant Diddy. When defendants arrived, when plaintiffs at the Loma Vista location, it appeared as they were waiting and coordinating for others to arrive. A large sedan arrived, and plaintiffs were placed in the black. Defendant Valdez, defendant Pelletier was driving. Plaintiffs then arrived at a short driveway curb. Plaintiff remembers looking for interesting street signs at this location and found. I guess they found something here, but it's redacted. Dead end street off of Loma Vista Drive. Plaintiff told John Doe, repeated the name of the street to himself so he remembered it and was able to whisper into Jane Doe's ear to remember the interesting street name. Plaintiffs believed this was the home they would be murdered in and tried to devise a plan for escape. So plaintiffs believed this was the home they would be murdered in, and if they tried to devise a plan to escape, plaintiffs were brought into the house and into the kitchen where they were watched by defendant Gonzalez. Plaintiffs repeated their pleas to defendant Gonzalez to be released and for mercy, which he replied, "There's nothing he can do." Plaintiffs could hear the other people inside the home and try to listen to understand what was happening, which included a woman's scream. Eventually plaintiffs were led deeper into the home where they encountered more individuals, including defendant Diddy. Plaintiffs observed several individuals gathered around a bed while defendant Gonzalez and Valdez stood out of guard. Plaintiffs observed defendant Jaguar and Helena into the residence. Defendant Jaguar told plaintiffs, "He wants something you have. If I were you, I'd figure out what it is really fast." So, defendant Jaguar told plaintiffs, "He wants something you have, and if I were you, I would get rid of it that quick." That almost sounds like something Jaguar would say. The he defendant was referring to is believed to be defendant Diddy, of course. But that sounds like something Jaguar would actually say. Okay, so shortly after, defendant Druski appeared wearing a vest and shorts, and he engaged in conversation with plaintiffs. Plaintiffs tried to appeal to defendant by talking about the music industry, and defendant instructed plaintiffs that they should cooperate. Plaintiffs described what they observed during the assault of plaintiff Parham after this interaction with defendant Druski. So it sounds like Druski was just coming in on some regular shit, even possibly being funny, and they said, no, you're going to talk about the music industry in case people were being recorded, and not say anything stupid. Okay, so again, this is starting to sound very detailed and up there, okay? Plaintiffs observed plaintiff Parham having an IUD forcefully placed in her vagina by defendant KK with the assistance of defendant Brandy. Plaintiffs heard defendant KK make a remark about plaintiff Jane Doe would not need an IUD because of her age, while hearing plaintiff Parham scream in agony during the forced IUD insertion. Plaintiff Jane Doe yelled, "Stop hurting her." Plaintiffs observed defendant Shane placed a pillow over plaintiff's Parham face, suffocating her, and plaintiff Jane Doe yelled for them to stop or that she would. Plaintiff John Doe witnessed plaintiff Parham being assaulted by the remote, and when he tried to say something, plaintiff was told to shut up or they would put the remote in him next. What is it with this fucking people with the remote? Plaintiff John Doe believes he heard about defendant Jaguar make remarks put that remote in her. She's going to learn today and telling plaintiff Parham that she was going to make it worse. What is it with these remote controls? Plaintiffs believe the remote assault was to punish plaintiff Parham for the IUD failure. Plaintiff heard defendant KK remark to defendants Diddy and Druski that she needed to keep them sufficiently drugged and revealed a bag full of drugs and paraphernalia. Defendant KK appeared to be dispersing doses to defendant, asking them their weights to administer their proper amount. At some point, plaintiff, that's crazy that they even detailing that behind certain weight for a certain amount. At some point, plaintiff John Doe was taken to the bathroom. While in the bathroom, he believed there may have been other tenants and began to bang on the walls, hoping someone would hear him, but the only person who heard him was defendant Valdez and Gonzalez, who were outside keeping watch. Upon plaintiff John Doe's return, he saw defendant Odell. He took his clothes off. Plaintiff remembers defendant being in great shape, especially in comparison to the naked bodies of defendants Diddy and Druski. That's funny as hell. That is, I mean, they are a sight for sore. Odell is, I guess, a sight for sore eyes, but Lord have mercy. I get what you're saying about after seeing Diddy and Druski, you see Odell Beckham. That's funny as hell. Plaintiff John Doe overheard defendant Diddy and Odell discussing business and the plan to have plaintiff Parham return to New York was defendant Odell. Plaintiff John Doe could not readily observe where plaintiff Jane Doe was during this time. While during this time where plaintiff Jane Doe was out of the sight, plaintiff Jane Doe was being sexually assaulted by defendant Valdez in another room. Then it was witnessed a gang rape of plaintiff. Then there was another gang rape of plaintiff from John and Jane Doe. Then this one had John Doe witness defendant Druski Drouse, plaintiff Parham and baby oil, and then jumped and slid across her body. Yo, what is my reading here? Drouse turned baby oil and then slid across her. Okay. So defendant Diddy then attempted to force plaintiff John Doe to also assault plaintiff Parham, and he refused. Defendant Diddy instructed defendant co-conspirators to throw plaintiff John Doe into the wall several times in order to get him to comply with his demand to rape plaintiff Parham, which he would not comply. So let's read that for you guys. So plaintiff John Doe observed defendant Diddy and Druski manically and hysterically laughing, which plaintiff attributed to their drug abuse. But defendant Diddy then attempted to force plaintiff John Doe to also assault Parham. Whoever this John Doe is, he didn't want to listen. Defendant Diddy instructed defendant co-conspirators to yank, grab, and pull at plaintiff John Doe's genitals violently in an effort to punish him for not participating in the gang rape of plaintiff Parham. Plaintiff John Doe remembers defendant Big Homie CC saying he was going to look for pliers to use to further torture plaintiff. Plaintiff John Doe believes defendant Diddy wanted plaintiff to rape plaintiff Parham so they could frame him in the event plaintiff Parham reported her assault. In an effort to get DNA from plaintiff John Doe to place on plaintiff Parham, defendant Diddy had one of the defendant co-conspirators orally copulate plaintiff John Doe to get semen from him, but he failed. Plaintiff Jane Doe observed defendant KK return to the room to check on plaintiff Parham and provided her an IV, telling her to breathe deeply. Plaintiff John Doe watched plaintiff Parham lose consciousness. At some point, plaintiff Jane Doe returns after defendant Diddy, Shane, Druski, Odell, KK, and others leave the home and retire to either the backyard or to upstairs patio. Plaintiffs were left alone and unattended with an unconscious plaintiff Parham. I am very parched reading this. Please bear with me. Okay, so plaintiffs were crying after observing the assault upon plaintiff Parham and began to realize this was their next chance to devise a plan for escape. Plaintiff began looking for weapon and exit points to make their escape. Plaintiffs could not find any phones or any weapons like knives in the kitchen, as it appeared all the cutlery and silverware had been removed from the home. This is almost sound like what do you call it? The Human Centipede, where that doctor kidnapped people, but he made sure he kept the sharp utensils that they could get away with away and out of sight. Plaintiffs were trying to act quickly while the defendants left them unattended and were outside smoking, drinking, and loudly laughing as if having a party. Plaintiffs observed others outside believed to be defendant Diddy's sons, Christian and Quincy. Plaintiffs observed, this is the first time someone didn't mention Justin, that's crazy. Plaintiffs observed them roughhousing and practicing layup basketball moves. Plaintiffs heard, this is a very detailed scenario here too. Plaintiffs heard defendant Diddy tell his sons to watch the gate and make sure no one left. Plaintiffs observed defendant Gonzalez outside the front door, where the front door was barricaded by yellow crime scene-like tape. The door locked. The door lock was unusual because it was facing backwards, needing the key to exit. Fearing no way to escape, Plaintiff Jane Doe mentioned to Plaintiff John Doe that she overheard them say, put it on top of the refrigerator, and instructed. Put on top of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Yeah, you can always find some on top there, huh? Now, you can always find some on top there. You might lose your keys up there. Just any old fucking thing. Some old mail or old check or something, top of the refrigerator. Just look at the top of the refrigerator. I'm trying to tell you, it's always gonna be there. It's always gonna be there. Something you did not remember it getting from the fucking mail one day. Top of the refrigerator, B. Trying to tell you, top of the refrigerator. Plaintiffs then heard ramblings from the room Plaintiff Parham was in and went in to check on her and to stop her from making too much noise that could thwart their escape plan. Plaintiffs told Plaintiff Parham that they weren't going to hurt her and that they were here to help. Plaintiff Parham, just now coming into consciousness and being horrifically gang raped, was upset, terrified, and unsure if plaintiffs were trying to help or were also co-conspirators. Plaintiffs eventually were able to get Plaintiff Parham to calm down and listen to their escape plan. Plaintiff told Parham they could not find an exit to escape and needed her help to escape. Otherwise they would all be killed. Plaintiff Parham, after experiencing her ordeal with defendants, believed plaintiff and agreed to help and escape. Plaintiff told Plaintiff Parham they had found a knife and that her assailants were in the backyard, which believed to be the next Beck's exit. What is with these backyards and this exit trying to sneak past everybody like U-007? Plaintiff Parham then exited the home with the knife concealed to the backyard. Shortly after, defendant KK returned and took Plaintiff Jane Doe to the balcony, leaving Plaintiff John Doe alone in the residence. Plaintiffs believed defendant KK did not check the residence because she believed Plaintiff Parham was still unconscious. While on the balcony, defendant KK demanded Plaintiff Jane Doe sign documents. When plaintiff refused, defendant yelled at least two Doe bodyguards. Plaintiff would not sign and asked them to assist. Plaintiffs believed the documents were related to creditors' complaints plaintiffs had against the Michael Jackson estate. During this interaction, parties hear a gunshot, which causes everyone to run toward the backyard. Okay, so Plaintiff John Doe, who was left alone unintended, was able to reach the stairs, where he saw plaintiff Parham with the knife, looking as if she was about to stab defendant Diddy, and he yelled out, "Do it, stab him!" But he saw plaintiff Parham hesitate. Plaintiff John Doe observed defendant Diddy pushed plaintiff Parham down at the bedroom of the United States. Excuse me, at the bottom of the stairs, plaintiff John Doe believes he assisted her up. Plaintiffs were briefly then reunited, and plaintiff John Doe told plaintiff Jane Doe because, excuse me, okay, so plaintiffs were briefly then reunited, and plaintiff John Doe told plaintiff Jane Doe now was their opportunity to escape. So I'm pretty much going to cancel everything following okay, so plaintiffs were briefly then reunited. Okay, so I read that part. So right here. So following Parham, plaintiff ran out of the back gate onto the street and in the opposite direction. This is what I'm talking about right here. What are you doing in this backyard like you are 008? Okay, so plaintiffs arrived at the house next door to the residence and banged on the door and yelled for help. The wife came out and said that she and her husband couldn't help. Plaintiffs found the exchange bizarre and could not understand why they would not help or call 911. Plaintiffs were able to then try to hide until they saw an officer report to the location, where they attempted to speak with the officer. Before plaintiffs were able to speak to the local officer, defendant Pelletier appeared and obstructed plaintiffs from speaking to the responding officer, telling the responding officer, here comes him now. The cleanup man pretty much is Pelletier. You gotta remember that. Pelletier is the cleanup guy. Told the officer to turn off his body camera. Wow. Defendant Pelletier told the officer he was working on a case for drug trafficking, and had the house under surveillance and will report later to the local precinct. Now I'm wondering, was he part of the raid? If we're talking about a whole officer here, was he part of the raid in Miami? Now I want to know. If we're talking about Officer Pelletier, we're going to be looking that up now to see if he was on any of the force that would be close to doing that raid for him around this date, because that would be pretty ironic. That would be pretty ironic, considering he's on the scene every time Diddy gets caught. And it used to be our other guy, what should I say, still is. It still is. The one that was actually dating the Kardashian mom. I can't remember his name now. But defendant Pelletier told the officer to turn off his body camera. Defendant Pelletier told the officer he was working on a case of drug trafficking. Funny how he was also doing a case on drug trafficking randomly, right? You know exactly what's going on, but you yet and still say you're doing a private investigation on drug trafficking. Pelletier referred to plaintiff and plaintiff Parham as suspects and said they were homeless. When plaintiffs tried to refute their statements by defendant Pelletier, they were threatened and told to shut up and remain quiet. Defendant Gonzalez then transports and removes plaintiffs from the interaction with defendant Pelletier and the responding officer. Defendant Gonzalez placed plaintiffs in another vehicle, which was hard to see due to the darkness. Plaintiff Jane Doe pleaded with defendant Gonzalez to let them go, and that she would not tell in a last-ditch effort. Plaintiff told defendant she overheard defendants Jaguar and Helena say they were not going to pay him and that there was not enough money for him. Unbeknownst to plaintiffs, defendant Jaguar and Helena were in a nearby vehicle. Defendant Gonzalez exited the vehicle and went to the vehicle with defendant Jaguar and Helena. So he even had the feds watching them during this whole time. And Helena confronted them about what plaintiff Jane Doe said. Defendant Gonzalez returned to the vehicle where Parham Parham and the Jane Does and John Does were being held, seemingly confirming what plaintiff Jane Doe said, because plaintiff heard him use the Spanish term "mait." That kind of might narrow it down, which is often used as a slur towards black people. Defendant Gonzalez then walked plaintiffs to a nearby street where the SUV was parked and gave plaintiffs the keys to the vehicle and released them. Okay. Let me see something here. Wait, so okay, we were at the end of it. That's what I figured. We were at the end of it. All right. So plaintiffs didn't arrive. I just want to make sure of something. In the vehicle. Okay, yeah, we're pretty much at the end of it. All right. So plaintiffs then arrived at the plaintiff address again. So the main road that leads to the I-24 freeway, and asked another commuter the nearest police station, as plaintiffs did not have any phones in their vehicle. I'm trying to think now, how the hell did they even get away with all this? Or should I say, how do they get away from this part right here? Have any phones in their vehicles, did not have GPS. They were given instructions. They were close and how to proceed to the police station. Plaintiffs arrived at the police station at 2022 Orinda Way. A plaintiff, John Doe, walked in the police station with the intention of filing the police report. Okay, so that's how. But remembered overhearing conversation with the defendants during their transport. When defendant believed he could not hear them, the plaintiffs ever reported the incident, they would be deemed crazy and non-believable. Same thing as before, that no one would believe them if they ever filed a report. But it's not being clear on how they got away. That's what I was a little stumped on. Like, it's not being clear on how they ran away. Plaintiff pleaded defendant Gonzalez to let them go, and that she would not tell. In the last ditch effort, plaintiff told defendant she overheard defendants Jaguar and Helena say that they were not going to pay him, and that there was not enough money for him. Unbeknownst to plaintiff, defendant Jaguar and Helena were in a nearby vehicle. Defendant Gonzalez exited the vehicle and went to the vehicle with defendants Jaguar and confronted them about what plaintiff Joe just said. Yeah. They returned to the vehicle. Plaintiff for being held, seemingly confirmed. Sees the racial slur. I still don't hear the part about where they actually escaped and got to this goddamn police station. That's the part where I'm a little bit stumped at. Defendant Gonzalez then walked plaintiffs to a nearby street where the SUV was parked and gave plaintiffs the keys to the vehicle and released them. They just walked into a car and let them drive off. That's what's not, they pretty much made a lie about what they heard, and then they said, all right, fuck it, we're just going to release you. Huh? Something just doesn't add up about that part. That ending part about them being released. Them going through all that and them knowing who they are, and then they say, all right, fuck it, we're just going to release you. Huh? All that information that you got on them, you just going to release them, get them a car, and just say, hey, go ahead. Let them just drive off into the sunset to the police station? That part's stumping me. I had to really realize what the fuck I was reading. That part really is stumping me there. Because I'm trying to really imagine now, how does that even happen? How do you give someone a car? It's fucking me up now. How did you go from them being trafficked at one point to now you're just saying, all right, fuck it. They overheard what we were talking about, I think they're, telling the truth that they overheard what we're talking about. We'll just give them a car and let them drive off. What? That part bugging me now. That part's bugging me. I can't fathom it. That part, okay, now we're down to the first cause of action. So, yeah. Yeah, and then they filed a report, took a business card from one of the detectives, of course. But listen, it's just... everything was very believable until that. It feels like so much was believable until that one part right there of they just gave him a car and let them go away. Everything else was extremely detailed, though. Everything else was extremely detailed. And this second part of this lawsuit was just now added in there, but because it's the amended complaint. There's certain things where you say to yourself, okay, I can see that happening. I can see this happening. I can see that happening. The only thing I couldn't really see that was pretty much hilarious to me about this whole lawsuit was the Druski putting on baby oil just to slide across the body. That part was hilarious to me. Just reading that. Like, he didn't say he did anything, but on the second time, I should say. The first time he part of the gang rape, but the second time was he just wanted to put oil on just to slide across her body. That is nuts. That's absolutely nuts reading. Second thing would be how Trey Songz comes up in ties to Ariel Mitchell, because Ariel Mitchell's an advocate of his allegations that have been in the past, which Trey Songz is tied into Diddy. And you tie him into Odell Beckham and the Justin Bieber thing we're seeing. Odell keeps popping up with Druski. That's one thing I wanted everybody to take away from this. Notice that Druski keeps popping up with Odell in places. Of course, now with this being out, they probably won't so much. And if that's the case, Godspeed on this justice system. Godspeed on it. I've been saying it before, and I'll say it again. I don't think they're getting Jay-Z or Diddy on these bullshit sex trafficking allegations, because some of them are bullshit. I'm not gonna say all of them. The sex trafficking itself, the $150 billion business itself, is not a joke. But who are they trying to make the face of it as? And with these ridiculous claims and complaints have added up to, I'm not so sure. So, with that being said, I'm not going to say I call bullshit on this lawsuit, but after taking a fine-tooth comb with it, there are some rough patches. This isn't all smooth. There are some very, very big rough patches on this. One of the main things, like I said, I found very ironic about this was the whole Tupac thing coming up. Why are these cases with Ariel Mitchell so connected to Tupac? Who is this Ariel Mitchell kid really? And why is her lawsuits so emphasized around Tupac? This is a retaliation for Tupac. Oh, you got Tupac murdered. That's all I keep hearing with this. All right, y'all. So this is getting to be at that time for me, and I'm getting a little bit tired. I did have one other thing I wanted to get into real quick before we go. And like I said, Diddy and Jay are not going down for the trafficking. If anything, Diddy will go down for the way they're emphasizing it. He'll go down for what happened with Pac. He'll go down for the murder of Pac. Jay possibly will go down for the murder of Aaliyah. Allegedly. I don't see anything else happening. I see that happening in particular. Also, I found an old tweet from Druski too. Not from Druski, from Jack Harlow, excuse me. An old tweet from Jack Harlow in 2019 that specifically says, "What? Druski came over for my family's Thanksgiving." So, Jack Harlow was on fire around 2019, 2020, right? How were you just hanging out at Jack Harlow's Thanksgiving in 2019? If you supposedly were broke and, you didn't know anybody, you were broke just doing skits at your mama's house before 2020. But you're having Thanksgiving dinner with Jack Harlow. Again, all of these people that were saying that they weren't here, they weren't there. It's all lies. I don't like how Druski saying he could have never been at a Diddy party, but Justin Combs. You adamantly chill with Justin Combs and Justin LaBoy. That was the posse, still is the posse, as you guys are just popping bottles just recently in the club together. You have big homie CC saying he doesn't know what they're talking about. Now, granted, you might have been hired by Diddy, but you also said on your record yourself that if you are offered a certain amount of money, say $1,500, you find some gray in the area. So that would be, that would be a little bit weird that you weren't famous, in my opinion. Then you have Odell Beckham. Odell, I didn't even know where to start, but being getting caught out on certain shit. The biggest thing you got caught out on was what happened with you and Justin Bieber, which ironically Trey's a part of. All the other names that come up on there, the Jaguar Wrights. Jaguar Wright's been on record saying that she was a mistress for them. With all the others that come up on there, I'm saying to myself, those you're going to have to prove to me. Those you're going to have a little bit more information for me to actually just jump out there on that one. But what I was going to get into before, because this was funny. This is funny just reading. I still don't know what's going on with this. I still don't. A man claimed he was shot by his dog while lying in bed on Monday morning, police say. The Memphis Police Department responded to the accidental injury call in the 700 block of Whitney Avenue just before 4 a.m., where Gerald Kirkwood told police he was lying in bed with his female friend when his dog jumped on the bed. See more breaking news. Okay, so it's not very much. Okay, Oreo, the 1-year-old pit bull, allegedly got his paw stuck in the trigger guard, and he hit the trigger. Kirkwood was grazed by a bullet in the top of his left thigh. So pretty much, dog jumped on the bed, got his paw stuck in between the trigger and the gun, and accidentally shot his owner. That could have went way worse. Let me not even laugh like that. That could have been way worse. That's kind of a... But then again, why do you have your gun off safety and on the bed? Or in the bed at that? You have it on... You have it off safety in the bed. I can see if you have it right there where you can just, by the nightstand or something, you can grab it, put it back on, take it back off safety. But you got it in the bed off safety. You was asking for an accident to happen, dog. I'm just saying, whoever gave you the license and listened to this is probably saying, sir, you weren't supposed to have that, off safety, number one. 2, you had it in a place where something like that can happen. There was a freak incident and a dog jumped up and caused the gun to discharge, said a friend of the wounded man. It's just crazy. That's just crazy even reading. That was crazy when reading. Yes, the whole entire industry is into the trafficking business. The entire industry is in. It's $150 billion business that they're trying to make Diddy the face of at this point. They're trying to keep him as the face of this. So whenever you think of sex trafficking and all that, you think Diddy. You don't think everybody else that, you know, is still around from that Epstein list. You don't think about them people. All right, y'all. Before I pass out on this motherfucker. Once again, please like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the Cash App. Chill Murray one there on the left. If you would like to donate and help a brother out. That was really all I had for tonight. Like I said, just wanted to get that out there from the weekend and everything that was going on concerning it. I feel like doing a Tory Lanez album review. I still feel like doing that. Because the album is fire. The album is absolute fire. I'm trying to think, did we have anything else really? Wasn't really much anything else that I saw. Okay, so all right then. I'll probably be back by the end of the week just to catch up and see what's going on. If that, I'll be streaming. What's tomorrow? 12. Yeah, I'll be streaming Marvel Rivals tomorrow and Harry Potter on the gaming channel. So once again, thank you all for tuning in. Shout out to Lulu, Kim Crawford, What a Man, Fury B, the homie, Jay Porter. What had happened was Icon Vani, Medusa, Bob Mel, Fantamos, Ivorani, Princess Cherie, Kamikaze, Zoe Ballin. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next motherfucking time.
Chill,